Today, 28th.
Yep.
So call the Monday, February 28th Inland Wetland meeting to order. We'll start with the introduction of members. I am Pat Parafort, Commission.
You are the chair.
Chair. Okay. Why don't we start? Danielle, why don't you introduce yourself? I guess I'll call them off.
I'm Danielle Monroe. I'm an alternate on the committee.
Welcome. Pat.
Pat Sal, alternate on the committee.
Okay. Laura.
Laura Ferguson, Commissioner.
And let's work our way down.
Greg Johnston, Commissioner. Nico Jordan, Commissioner.
Dave McCollum, and the Wetlands agent.
Mary Churchill, Recording Secretary.
And I believe that's everyone from the commission, correct? Okay, so let's go right into our agenda. We have the continuation. Is it continuation?
Yes.
Okay, continuation of the public hearing for Stony Hill Road number 48 to 50. Who would like to present for the applicant on that?
I will, Pat. Thank you.
You want it?
This is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. My firm name is Land Use and Conservation Counsel. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant Upstream Properties 2. I saw Rich Mancuso earlier, and I see Gary Michael on the call as well. Apologize, I couldn't be there in person. I'm very grateful for the Zoom ability at this point. Fortunately, I don't have much to say tonight. Rock is going to do most of the talking. We submitted a set of plan revisions to you electronically and in person Friday, electronically on Friday, in person today, due to the snow. We also, David's, you sure you can lift that, David? It looks pretty heavy. We also submitted a response letter to Wright Pierce's comments, and we fully understand that obviously Wright Pierce has not had a chance to review that and provide a new set. We are still working on a letter in response to David McCollum's comment letter to the commission, and we expect that will be in by the end of the week. With all that, we understand that after we're done tonight, the hearing will be continued to your next meeting, which I understand is March 28th. And to accommodate that, we provided an extension letter granting the days that are necessary to get us through March 28th. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rock and take it away.
Just because I'm also in the room with everybody else, can everybody confirm that they can hear me? Perfect, I'll take that as a nod. Rock Emmond, I'm Associate Civil Engineer with SLR International Corporation out of Chester, Connecticut, 99 Realty Drive. I will share my screen with the...
Let me make sure I've enabled that for you. Yep, you're good.
Beautiful. So just to reiterate just where we are, so this is 4850 Stony Hill Road on Route 6. It is directly south of Copper Square and directly east of the existing pond along Stony Hill Road. As Peter alluded to, we had some plan revisions that came out of both this meeting as well as planning and zoning. One of the biggest changes, which you'll see, is the addition of a pocket park in the bottom right corner of the parcel. Let me just go to the next slide. This site rendering, and I can zoom in a little bit more for everybody to see. Let's remove. So previously, as part of the application, there was a water quality basin that was occurring in this pocket parking or in this area in the corner. That has since been converted to an underground water quality system. And in order to facilitate more recreational space to meet planning and zoning's kind of guidance towards this form of application, we converted into a pocket park. So there's a nice, I guess I can zoom in, please, and thank you. Drag it over. The pocket park incorporates a kind of sidewalk and some benches along with some very nice manicured landscaping. This falls within the Upland review area, as you'll see in the next slide. So it is within your jurisdiction to take a look at, as well as comment and or provide any guidance on. It's primarily for recreational use for the development, but obviously because there are connections onto the sidewalk along Route 6, It is technically going to be available to those pedestrians that are going to be walking by. We would just probably add some doggy bags or trash receptacles for anybody that's going to be going by, as well as it'll be maintained by the development. Some smaller changes that were added that came out of the town, or the comments from last meeting was, I believe it was Nico's comment about what was going to be happening with the pavement section as it goes along the drainage ditch, in order to kind of both give something back as well as just kind of preemptively know how things are going to be going. We preemptively put some shrubs and plants along the wetland edge. So there's the drainage ditch that's going along this edge, and then we're going to be just planting it up, both to enhance and beautify the area, as well as we put some notes on the plans that basically say, hey, if we're going to be affecting any root areas, this hopefully will be enough plantings and enough material that we can kind of reciprocate, work with the town, and kind of beautify and restore that area as best as we can. Some minor other revisions that happened with this plan is in conversations and comings and goings along the two rain garden depressions that are along the property line. We added some trees and some small shrubs to kind of give both a buffer to Copper Square, because it's technically it's within the easement on their property, so we're trying to help with them, as well as we scaled back the amount of regrading that's going to be in that area. Due to the scaling back of the regrading that's in that area, we were actually able to still meet the required volume that they had on site. So from a storm drainage perspective, it is still meeting the criteria, as well as that overflow pipe is still going to be maintained. That will go to the pond serving Copper Square. I'll just run through the next couple sheets just to show you what was actually submitted. So like I was saying, the pocket park in the corner. And then from a layout plan wise, which doesn't incorporate any landscaping, it's primarily unchanged. In conjunction with this, if you were to compare the impervious areas of this plan compared to the previously approved plan, we calculate that the previous plan had 185,600 square feet of impervious, which is about 68.9% of the plan. And this current plan, as you see it today, is 184,260, which equates to 68.2% impervious coverage. So there's a natural reduction in the amount of impervious over the previously approved plan. As you'll see in this plan, and I guess the easiest way to do this would also be to zoom in. Thank you for the power of Zoom. So you'll see that there are contours in this area. This is actually a mounding. So this also allows for some screening for the dumpster pad in this corner from people driving by along Route 6, as well as gives the owners, I guess, or the tenants of the building sort of a screened area for people that are be using the pocket park, give them a little bit more privacy. Additionally with that, you'll see that there's an underground detention system, or I guess underground retention system, as this is for water quality. And that was basically the volume that was originally here, has now been converted into underground over here. And if I scroll over, I can show you. So previous plan showed that the contours were, oh, let me just wait for, okay, caught up with me. Previous plan showed that the contours were tying in completely around these two depressions. That is since, because now we have more accurate survey, and we were able to figure out exactly where the contours are. We're able to pull these back into just being about 10 feet off the property within the easement. Both, it's a lot easier for Copper Square to digest, as well as a lot easier for the developer to digest and build. No major changes have, oh, I don't want that sheet. Yep. The jumping around, catch up with me. Thank you. As part of the original conditions of approval, there are required that no stockpiles occur within the upland review. So then one was just slightly within the area, so that was shifted over. And then everything else is primarily exactly the same unless it, or except for where the depression was, as this is just now not taking any stormwater in. It is a kind of man-made berm that, I mean, there's really no erosion that would be occurring there unless it was from us. So, and then that would be maintained on site through proper means and methods. But primarily this remains unchanged as opposed to comments that we received from Wright Pierce, where they had some comments that we addressed in both the plans and our comment response letter. And then just to show the previously approved plan, once again, you'll see that in blue, that is the wetland and the drainage ditch. And the second line is the upland review area. On their previous plan, once again, there was a small water quality basin in the corner. This has been relieved with the pocket park in our proposed plan. And then just to reiterate that that previous plan that you're seeing right now was 68.9% impervious, and the current plan is 68.2% impervious. That's pretty much a summary of all the changes that have been made in the, I guess, resubmission that was done on Friday. Happy to
Excellent.
answer any questions.
As Rock just said, we're happy to answer any questions the commission or the public may have.
Okay,
But that's all we have for tonight.
thank you. Let's start with commission members. Is there anyone with questions or comments? Okay, anyone on the computer? Any commissions on the computer? Okay, on the screen. I do have a couple questions, if you don't mind. All right, so your park there.
Yeah.
All right, looks beautiful, but what are those contour lines? I can't read them.
So the
How high is
contours are
that little
going
bump?
6 feet tall.
So it's not
That's the
so
height of the
much
person.
as it shows there. You're actually creating some type of
Yeah, a
mountain in
berm.
there.
Yeah, a berm to both displace. So let's say that you had a car parked there.
Right.
You really wouldn't be able to see the car with the berm.
Okay. Is that the reason for it, or is there other reasons going on why you're creating this
It
huge?
just gives a section of privacy for the park,
Okay.
which I guess kind of just a nice feature.
Visuals are better from the street.
Okay.
Just breaking it up.
All right. There's no drainage reasons and.
No.
Okay. All right. Garbage containers. I see two right in your upland review and right next to the wetlands. Now I see a third one bottom by the other
Correct.
upland review. They look pretty small on here for that amount of units. What I don't know if it calls for it in the plan or not. What size dumpsters are they? Or is that something you figure when after you build?
That's more of a zoning question.
Well, the reason I ask is how much garbage is getting close to that wetland that way. Are you looking at like a 5-yard dumpster, or are you putting a 30-yard dumpster there? It's a different type
It's
of
probably an 8-yard dumpster.
8-yard.
Yeah. And it's
Okay.
sized for the frequency of the development, as far as
Okay.
we can have them come twice a week if need be, as opposed to putting an oversized one in there.
Okay. So it's covered.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there some type of fencing around it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You showing, I think you're showing gates on it. Are you going to attempt to put gates on it? And I say attempt
Yes.
because usually they get over time destroyed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you pull up the previously approved where you had the whole underground,
This guy.
that guy?
Yep.
And I don't know how to ask this correctly.
Sure.
So the amount of water in that one underground unit,
Correct.
does that equal the amount of water in those 3 units?
I am glad you asked.
Okay.
So this was done in 2013.
Okay.
So rainfall data has since changed.
Okay.
So there's no way to have 1-to-1.
Okay.
So a completely new analysis was done as part of our drainage report.
So
So
are you using less space or more space?
more space.
Okay.
So it's all underground.
Right. So, but you're also eliminating now the storm treatment or storm water management where you have the park. Is
Correct,
that
which is being
included in the
compensated
3?
with the new underground detention.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any, because I'm picturing the place you're taking out,
Mhm.
also filtering, so to speak, going through. Is this like a called Technit unit
Yeah.
underneath?
Essentially the same thing. So
Okay.
this specifically is a storm tech unit.
Okay,
And it uses what are called isolator rows, which allow for the sediment to basically settle out and go
Okay.
down, as well as we're still utilizing the hydrodynamic separator, which is taking out 80% of the total suspended
all right,
solids.
so you have it separated.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm trying to follow your drainage lines right now. So you got, where
So,
does it exit?
so once
Which ones
again,
are in and
this-
which ones are out?
This is the previously approved plan.
Right, okay,
And the pond is here,
yep,
which has an outlet control structure that discharges to a large 8x8 box
Mm-hmm.
here, and then goes to an underground or a below grade culvert that then goes to the brook.
okay,
This drainage pattern will be maintained,
all right.
and if I hop over to my proposed plan, I can zoom in,
That's what, yeah.
lift it over. So you'll see that these two pipes are here. We need to do a test pit to verify that there's going to be probably no conflict. There's the 8x8 structure, but we're tying in just here, which once again, we're mitigating the 2 through the 100-year storm. So
Okay.
this is only an emergency overflow outlet. So this should never see a drop of water
Okay,
for obviously the 2 through the 100.
so all the water that's going in your chambers there, you're never coming to daylight, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay,
should-
unless it's a heavy
Unless it
overflow.
is a heavy flow, a freak 500-year event.
Right,
It's something that's too fast where it's not going to infiltrate into the ground.
and at that point, it's gonna flow into to the left there. I presume.
Correct, correct, which also maintains the technical path that was previously approved.
Okay, so, all right, let's say we have that freak storm now.
Yep.
You got the overflow.
Yep.
Does that count into the calculations of that pond and their freak storm?
So,
Or all of a sudden we just put way too much into that stream?
so they had also, as part of the previous approval, they also did frequency for 100-year for
Okay.
their outlet as well. So it's the same scenario where if it's anything over, it's then going to go into it.
Right,
So if it is that 500-year storm,
right.
that freak accident, it's all going to make it over land at that point, because what's going to happen is it's going to actually back up, and both the pond as well as the development, that's all going to go to Route 6 and eventually get to that river.
And
or that
that's-
brook, Dimples Brook. But once again, that's not so anything over the 100-year storm is not a requirement.
So let me ask you this. How do I put this?
Mhm.
What is the risk of all of a sudden having sheet flow during a storm flooding Route 6 from the two developments combined? You're both using the same
Yes.
pathway to get there. I'm
So-
worried that it works for here, does it work together? I guess. what
Once
I'm
again,
asking.
the previously approved plan and
Right.
previously approved drainage report
Okay.
takes that into account, because
Okay.
this development was part of that previous analysis.
So it takes into account your development as well.
Yes,
Okay,
and
that's-
once again, just making the comment that we were actually a small decrease in the amount of impervious,
Mm-hmm.
therefore a small decrease in the amount of runoff that we're going to be generating.
Understood. Okay. And I'm sorry, last question.
Yep.
I don't see the 100-foot review for the pond.
So as part of the previous approval, they actually did not show a 100-foot review off the pond either.
Okay.
So I didn't.
Okay.
If it's something that is, as of the commission would like,
Okay.
it is a man-made structure technically. But I would have to defer to town staff on how they would
Okay.
want to handle a man-made wetland structure, pond, and how they want to, if they want to count that as upland review activity or not.
Okay. I know my feeling is, but let's go by,
I'll get into that
Okay.
when I go into my comments. Let's
Oh,
go through the rest
okay.
of the commission first.
I'm done asking questions for now, so, sorry. Are there any more questions or comments from commission?
Can I go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are good questions. I mean, good place to start. I'll just go to like somewhere to the future. I was reading the operation and maintenance plan, the post-construction upkeep, owner responsibilities, which I think you guys did add to or change on the revised looked like there was more kind of steps and put in the revision.
Yeah.
The site plan. Who is the owner? Who will be the owner? You will remain the owner.
Unlike a condominium project where, there's a board put together and board members change. It's the three of us, we own it, we manage it, we maintain it.
So you, the builder and developer, future owner.
So can I
have a
interrupt one
vested interest.
second?
Please do.
No. Can you just identify yourself? I know you are, just,
Thank you.
I forgot you, we have to put it on public
Thank you,
record.
Pat. I was gonna ask the
Rich
same
make
thing.
use of upstream properties too.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Rich. So yeah, so to keep all the catch basins and storm tech, help me, Rock.
So
All the
all the underground infiltration systems,
underground infiltration
to
systems.
keep that maintained is
Yeah.
responsibility.
Can you,
There's
it's all written here, but.
Yeah, there's an annual program we do,
Yeah.
from construction until, finished construction, and that includes, coming back, pulling the silt sacks, cleaning the basins out, catch basins from, what's gotten in there from construction debris, that type of stuff, as well as the cleanouts for, the storm techs. There's chambers you go down into, and you bring the vacuum truck. And,
Yeah.
Just draw it out.
And you just have a staff work, like annual.
It's all contract work.
Yeah.
We just budget for it and, call the vacuum truck company and they come out and,
Nice.
pull everything out and do a quick inspection and we go from there. It's actually
Cool.
It's easier than taking care of a basin when you start getting fragmites in there and that type of stuff, to try to get
biologics,
it.
yeah. Nice. It's pretty important to keep that stuff maintained, probably, to have this all function as it's supposed to.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions, Nico? Good. All
Probably good for now.
right, any other commission members have questions,
I
comments?
think Danielle has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Danielle, go ahead.
Just raise your hand.
At home.
Now I see ya.
Thanks. Rock, I'm hoping that you can explain for me how, and it's hard to do this via Zoom, but on the right-hand side of the rendering,
Yep.
along the black line where the wetlands are, there was a water course there running.
Correct.
And I was my understanding when we did the site walk that water course was kind of going to end where the park is now and fill that retention pond. Did I have that correct or incorrect?
So the existing drainage ditch would not actually discharge into the retention pond. The retention pond was primarily for the development itself. The ditch actually discharges into what looks like a overflow pipe and then a catch basin that eventually make it below Route 6 and to a secondary discharge across the street. It, in essence, has no hydraulic connectivity to our site beyond just existing on the site.
Okay, so then if I have it right, the retention pond that you were putting in was just for overflow from the impervious areas of the structures?
So the retention pond is sized for 1 inch over, or 1 inch of rainfall over the impervious area in order to provide water quality. And just, so what happens is when there's more water, it allows for dissipation of the amount of suspended solids or any sort of pollutants that would be in the water, which then provides greater water quality, which is just better for everyone. And once again, that retention pond is now gone. It is now completely below grade and in underground chambers.
I understand. So then all of the drainage that is going to take place in the parking lot is connected to that new
That is
underground area. Okay,
That
thank
is
you for
correct.
clarifying for me.
Okay, any other questions?
I just have a quick thought for Rock and Rich. Any chance of, do you guys think about like connecting the property at all to the open spaces? Like to, I know there's an open space that was set aside during the previous subdivision to the northeast or the north. The wetland area there.
We did meet with Copper Square.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with them. Looked at the aerials of their property. Unfortunately, any connection is gonna, I'll say, intrude on their units. It would either be a walkway between a couple of, homeowners' units, or even if we tried to go up the backside, it'd be behind all their units,
Right.
I
I think I see a trail there now. on the satellite.
There's probably a footpath, but
A footpath.
to put something on paper and tell that unit owner that, now there's something formal, that these units can go from point A to point B.
Can't relate.
It's not gonna go over too well.
Right. So let the residents, they'll figure it out.
I
So
think what you see there is the old golf driving range maintenance trail.
Yeah.
That went on the other side of the poles and nets that were on the right side of the property. So it's not a walking trail or anything like that.
So, Mr. Olson, let me ask you, and I asked this, I'm trying to put this in a certain phrase. This property works well, or is, working with the neighbor's drainage and the pond and the drainage between the two complexes. Is there any type of legal concern from a wetland point of view that this commission has to be concerned about between neighbors at this point?
In my opinion, no.
Okay.
I think what Rock has told you tonight and at the first hearing is that our drainage is mostly separate from Copper Square's drainage. There are easements that cover those rain gardens between the two properties.
Yep.
But we are not really taking advantage of using those.
Okay.
And Rock can explain better than me, but those aren't wetlands at this point. The only wetlands on the property are the drainage ditch through which the sewer pipe runs on the northeasterly property line. And we're not discharging into that either.
Okay.
So there really is no interrelationship between the two properties as a legal matter, as far as impacts on wetlands are concerned.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. All right, as this is a public hearing, I don't see any public, but if there is any public that wishes to comment, please make yourself known. Dave, no one else is on the TV, correct?
I'm looking at my participants
Right.
list, and I'm taking my mask off to make sure people can hear what I'm saying. There doesn't appear to be anyone through Zoom that wants to offer public comment, but I'll just reiterate that if you do wish to offer public comment, you can do so by using the Zoom app. There's a toolbar at the bottom that would appear by bringing your cursor to the bottom of the screen, clicking on the reactions icon. It gives you the option to click a button that says raise hand. That lets us know that you have public comment to offer, although, like I said, I don't think anyone in the audience tonight, on Zoom at least, is from the public. At least that would want to speak on this application.
Okay, then. If there are no other comments for tonight, we are extending this till, oh, Dave, I almost forgot your comment.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be quicker.
Thank you.
so. Good, sorry about that.
I will try to keep mine brief, as important as they are. The first of which Attorney Olson addressed by saying that the public hearing is going to be continued. How this works for our newer members. So for a public hearing, you have a customary period of 35 days for when you can open and conduct a public hearing. Per your inland wetlands regulations, you have a period of 65 days that you can use at the applicant's discretion. They have to grant you, which Attorney Olson did with that letter that was submitted this afternoon, to use additional time in whatever way you need to. So in other words, we're going to be continuing the public hearing past that customary 35-day period. We're using 28 days if I'm going by what the extension letter says, if I have that done correctly, to do that, to get us to our next regular meeting on March 28th. We still have 37 days remaining. We have up to 65 that we can use. So There's no harm in us continuing tonight. I think it's good that we do that. Gives the applicant a chance to give responses to my comments, gives Wright Pierce a chance for them to review the response comments that SLR gave on Friday digitally and hard copy today, which gets me to my next point. I wasn't trying to demonstrate my upper body strength by showing these plans. My point is that there are plenty of sets for you to take with you if you want to review these on your own. I understand it may not be easy trying to do this over computer, and I wouldn't want you to feel like you just have to go by what's being presented on the screen when we meet to look at these. So do take a look at those. Just as a brief aside to get into my stuff, I'm a little disappointed that we don't have responses for my comments tonight. I would have liked to have been able to share some of what those were and what my thoughts were those on. But I guess we'll just have to wait until those come in next week, and when we continue on the 20th for me to get into that. That being said, in terms of deciding where something is or something isn't, i.e. the regulated upland review area that Mr. Iman mentioned, it's not my discretion to do that. It's not some arbitrary, I think this is wetlands. I don't think it is. And there are two reasons for that. The first of which is, if you go into SLR's response comments, and if you go down to comment R-4, which I'll pass down response comments for those. I'm sorry, those in the virtual world, I'll try to get you guys response comments as soon as I can, but I will just state for the record what it says, and I quote, "Wetlands delineations, descriptions, and assessment by JMM Wetland Consulting Services, LLC, dated September 17, 2012, along with wetlands/watercourse impact assessment by SLR International Corporation, dated December 13, 2021, were submitted as part of this application." Now, the former isn't why I bring up this, the latter isn't why I bring up this comment, it's the former. And in JMM's Wetland Consulting Services report, they describe the wetlands off-site and on-site that you guys are considering as part of, any activity that would take place on this property. The pond that is on the property, I guess to the left of your screen here, it even is referred to in some of the reports and on the site plans as an existing pond. The fact that it's man-made doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
The wetland scientist is saying that is a wetland. And to go to my second point, in your wetlands regulations, there's no discretion as to whether or not a wetlands is man-made or not. If it has soil types that are defined as being wetland soils, that is a wetland.
Okay.
And so there is an upland review area that stems from that. So I would say, in considering the regulated activity, yes, you can consider what's going on the eastern side of the property, if I'm getting my orientation correct, with the drainage ditch. Also consider what's going on the western side of the property with the pond. So I just want to make sure that that's clear before we hash into this any further.
Okay.
All right. It may not be delineated on the site plans. I would recommend that gets changed. What governs where wetlands are isn't what's shown on site plans as much as what's shown on a survey and what's in a wetlands/soils report from a soil scientist. All right. So I would have us look at those two things to figure out where our upland review area is. Anyway, in terms of the impervious percentage and some of those numbers that are given, when Wright Pierce goes forth with reviewing the response comments that SLR has made, it's a new thing that we're trying out. They're going to give you guys a colorized version that shows you how the drainage, the stormwater management system components work and how they tie into each other. And more importantly, it'll show you the drainage areas that those stormwater management systems work for. In other words, where they take water from. That's the important thing that you guys need to remember in terms of, you know, the impervious area that's being disturbed on the site, where water is going, because you're looking for the changes. Okay.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. When Wright Pierce gets that to you, we can go more into that discussion. I don't think it's worth trying to dive into any other nitty gritty at this point, just because we still have a lot of other grounds to cover. Hopefully we'll get through that when we continue on the 28th. Anyone have any questions for me?
I do.
Okay, very good.
Just a comment. I just want to be clear that when JMM Consulting prepared that wetlands report, it was for an application that included both properties, and the owner was the same for both properties. They owned the pond and they owned the front piece and they owned what became Copper Square. Copper Square is the owner of the pond at this time. We do not own the pond. It is not on our property. It is on an adjacent property. So I just wanted to clarify your use of the 2013 JMM report in that regards. That being said, we'll put the upland review area line on our plans.
Thank you.
And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, anything else?
Good, you good?
Okay, so we'll have a consensus from the commission that we continue this to March 28th.
Do we need to vote on it?
We don't
just
need to vote on
I
it,
am
but
good
I
with
would
continuing
make sure
it.
everyone's in
Fine.
agreement that.
Is everyone in agreement?
Yep.
Sure. Thank you, Peter. Awesome. We good?
Okay.
We're in agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, if I'm correct, would be 20 Codfish Hill Road. This is, we had a site walk a few weeks ago there. I think it was a few weeks now.
Yes.
Who would like to present for Codfish Hill?
I do, Pat. Doug DeVesta, a professional engineer. Dave, can I share the screen?
Yes, screen sharing is enabled, Mr. DeVesta.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
You can see it, okay. Okay, what I've got on the screen right now is the overall property. This was created by Surveying Associates back in 2001, 2002, showing the full property. What you see, this red line that I'm highlighting right now is the property at 28 Codfish Hill Road. What you see in the greenish color are the wetlands. And then this is the common driveway coming off of Codfish Hill Road that serves parcel B2, which was my client's house previously to them selling it this past spring, this past year. And then they're looking to build a house in the back here. The property was checked for wetlands back in 2001 by Henry Muller, and again, and field located by the flags are field located by Surveying Associates out of Danbury. That's what's showing right there. Now going to our current site plan, the parcel is 8.8 acres, undeveloped. We are looking to, that was again part of the original subdivision. The current owners, the Johnsons, sold their house, but they live right here, south of this property. They are looking to build a new house in the upland portion of the property, access through the common driveway, which is described off of Codfish Hill Road, coming up to like a circular driveway at the entrance and then into their proposed house. Other than doing developing the house, we're looking at installing a septic system in the same location as it was previously during the subdivision process. I think, and this septic system is a lot smaller than we originally had designed because from 2004, the health codes have changed considerably, and we're able to use a lot of different products and reduce the septic area down considerably. We're also proposing 3 separate drainage systems One will be servicing the house area, one the driveway, and one the lower portion of the driveway. Each of those were designed to handle the first inch of runoff, the water quality volume, did the calculations, and anything above the invert out, the control system will be the detention areas. So therefore, we provided water quality volume for the increase in impervious areas and reduction in runoff for the 2, 10, and 25-year design storms for the property. The septic system was reviewed by the health department and approved on January 19, 2022. So that's all set to that department there. What else have we done with this? We've provided silk fence all along the between the wetland area and the proposed drainage and the grading of the property. So we really look at that. And then also the property will be served by individual well, which is located behind the house here. Utilities will come up along the driveway from the transformer that's on the lot south of us and then service the house through the underground utilities. Again, those utilities are already installed, so just a matter of extending them a little further to the north and into the house. The plans were reviewed by Wright Pierce. We provided a response letter. I think you may have all had that. I'm not going to go through each of the comments. We got a response back this afternoon, just before 5 tonight. It looks like we have everything addressed, except for a couple of items. One was using erosion control mat. We do have a note on the plan that are going to look at using control mats over here. They wanted to spell it out a little more and then some kind of a detail for that, which we can provide. The other question was soil testing. We had not had a chance to get out and do soil testing here. My response back to them was that we would do this when we have a machine on site. We'll do testing within the 3 drainage areas and then provide that's the soil data and modify the systems if we have to, and provide updated plans to the wetland staff, and verifying that these systems will function according to what we're proposing. The other question, what was need to be addressed was we have splash pads on the outlet end of each of the 3 detention systems. They wanted me to provide the actual design of those things. Actually, I worked through those numbers tonight, and they are typically going to be between 5 feet long and 7 feet wide out of these 3 detention systems here. So there will be 5 feet long and 5 to 6 feet long, and each one will be at the end of the system will be 7 feet wide. Those are basically addressing all their comments. Staff comments. I don't know if you want me to go through all those or not, but I think we've addressed all David's comments. Provided volumes and volumes of material being imported, exported from materials on the site. We actually provided a concrete truck washout area. Here we provided a dewatering pit area for if we encounter groundwater when we're digging the foundation, that'll be pumped up into here, allow it to spread, allow it to settle out, and then migrate down towards the wetlands area. And the third thing was to provide material storage area, which we're providing here, and then any type of vehicle parking for construction will be done on the driveway area itself. That's pretty much what we're proposing to do tonight. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with commission. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. DeVesta? Anyone on Zoom have questions? Okay. Doug, I have a couple, of course. You're providing drainage for the driveway, so I'm assuming that's blacktopped or paved?
Yes, we're looking at paving the driveway. I had a discussion with my client. They may not do this circle. What they may do is take the driveway, as my cursor is bringing it up and tying right back into here. What they may do, instead of paving this area, the circle area, they may do like a paver stone. So have a 12-foot wide driveway connecting from the easterly end to the westerly side, southwesterly side here, and then take that one half of that pie, I'm gonna call it, and make that in paver stone here. So say a delivery truck comes up here, they can at least make a turn around right here pretty easily out without having a paved area. So that's something we were discussing, but if that's the case, then that may eliminate one set of catch basins, and then we can maybe, reduce one of these detention systems or actually eliminate it. But right now, we're proposing to do a circular driveway, but we potentially may do a grass paver area here instead.
Okay, so you're not paving the whole thing all the way to the street then? You're not doing paving?
No, that's gravel, and that will remain gravel.
Okay. Where the drainages are, including the, I call rip pad, where the exits are, how close are you to working the wetlands there?
Hang on a second. Scale. The closest point would be on this one here, is about 4 feet, 5 feet from the wetlands right here. I mean, that can be shortened up. We can shorten that pipe up and then bring it back a little more if we have to.
Now, I'm thinking, can we put, and I don't want to do red fencing on the whole thing, but just, maybe like a 10-foot section there where the wetlands is, put red fencing there. So if there's a machine, who's ever working that machine has a clear delineation of how far he can go with the bucket.
Sure, we can do that. We put the
not the
orange
whole
construction
wetland,
fence
just
up.
anywhere you're within 10 feet of digging the wetlands, if we could put some type of red fencing there.
Sure.
Okay. And then I know on the site walk, it was discussed, there's like 6 trees literally on the wetland boundary. And he's looking to remove those?
Yes, we did. My client did reach out to Tree Monsters Land Clearing. And we got a letter back from them, and he's an arborist. And he went back out to the site after our site walk, after myself and the client talked, and I had him go out and look at those trees. And what and I can get you a copy of this letter too. I just got it today. That they're ash trees. They have the ash tree blight. They are all dead and falling down. He recommends that those dead ash trees to be removed, and no live trees will come down or be removed within the wetlands area. So basically the arbor is saying that they have the ash blight, and they want to take them down.
And can they be removed without going into the wetlands? They're literally right on the line. So can they, I'm not a tree guy, can they be falling the other way?
I would think so. We certainly can talk to the tree clearing guys and ask them to look at doing that. Correct.
Yeah, if at all possible. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'm just a little confused. The test pits that you want to do for the drainage, you're going to do that while you're putting the drainage in. So what happens if the result is different?
No, we're looking at doing when they dig a foundation.
Okay.
So Sammy, these will be put in, the detention system will be put in, fairly, near the end of the project.
Right.
So we'll do, once the foundation is being dug, we'll go out there and do the soil testing at that point. At that point, if we determine that we need to raise them or do whatever, we will modify the plans accordingly.
So
But they won't get any closer to the wetlands than what they currently are.
all right. So we approve it this way, and it has to be modified. Is that something you do as a office only? I call office only as a ruling, or does he have to come back and show us how? Because we're approving in one way, may get shifted. Worst case, how would that affect?
If it's an element that would otherwise exist, if
Okay.
you're not changing its size and if you're not expanding the area for where the disturbance would take place.
Okay.
I would say it would be something that I could
Okay,
process.
okay.
But I'm not really thinking of that at this point. I mean, that you really just would be fine tuning things.
Okay, right.
So I wouldn't say that would be a concern. If they
All
had to
right,
go back to the-
but the testing will be done prior to construction of it.
Correct.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
Can I give?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
My one. Hey Doug. Nico Jordan from the commission here. I was just wondering, I think maybe we touched on it during our site walk. But my concern has to do with the septic leaching fields on the hillside there to the east. And I guess I'm just wondering that because of, I was hoping you could maybe walk me through like how, if this is appropriate for this meeting, Dave, you could tell me, if you can walk me through how the health department came to their finding that it's, safe for the septic to be there. And like, how the soils and the slope, are sufficient to kind of hold all the waste and the sewage.
Well, we did soil testing with the health department back in 2004. The area, I believe it was 2004, 2003. The area was, they witnessed the test holes, and based on the soil data that we collected and the design we provided meets the current state health code and state and local health code. We have to be so many inches above groundwater modeling and hard pan, every 18 inches above groundwater, hard pan and modeling, and 4 feet above ledge rock. And this system meets all those requirements, and which was again reviewed by the state. We have soil data. Let me pull up my.
Yeah, I was reviewing it.
So here we got, this is a profile through the system. So what I did is just easier if we do it on my AutoCAD stuff here. So what we have here is section AA, it's right through here. So here's your primary area, this is your reserve area. Come on now. So what you see here, this yellow dashed line is the approximate existing grade, taken off the topography lines. This green line is the restrictive layer, meaning groundwater modeling, hard pan or ledge rock. And this happens in the highest level, or the highest restrictive layer was modeling. And we have to be 18 inches above that modeling layer. So from here to the bottom, to the closest point is 18 inches. So we have 18 inches clearance, minimum state health code requirements. So the bottom of the system is set level. So you can see we're right at existing grade, and we're bringing it up approximately, each square is 1 foot. So bring up about 1.5 feet at this end here, top of the system about 2 feet above grade. So again, we've got select fill for 5 feet out, and then 5 feet of berm material. And then the blue line is the proposed finished grade in the area. So based on that information, based on what the state health code requires us to do and the design criteria we follow, this meet and the state and local health codes.
That's awesome. Thanks for going over that.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other commission members have any questions? Okay, Dave?
Okay,
Don't forget you this time.
thank you, thank you.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, Kevin, are you with us?
Kevin.
Yeah, I'm traveling. I got it. I apologize. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. I'm traveling in right now. I'm on Zoom, obviously, for the moment, but coming in. I got, it's month-end close and I'm an accountant, so I got pulled into a C-level review. So I unfortunately was stuck on that until about 15 minutes ago.
Well, I hope your hand's free, so we'll see you in a little bit.
I absolutely am. I apologize, and I'll keep it on mute so you don't have to hear the background noise, but I am paying attention.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kevin. I'm gonna try to keep my comments short tonight. I think there were a lot of things that got hashed out just in your questions and from what Mr. Sylvester has presented so far. I will, just to embellish what Nico was asking, and to embellish Mr. DeVessa's response, there are requirements for how far a septic system has to be from wetlands. I believe that's at least 50 feet, which I think here in this case, we need that we have ample distance between how far the leaching gallery is for the septic system and with its distance to the wetland down below. The two things that you could be mindful of, I guess, in your asking of that question would be the potential for the soils or for the potential exportation of nitrogen and phosphorus. That's some of the stuff that gets hashed out in the health department's report. So they look through all of that. Not to say that they are mindful of wetlands every time they review an application. But they certainly would want to make sure a septic system is going to work where it's proposed on the property. And with that 50-foot offset, you have a minimum distance that a septic system has to be so that you don't encounter any potential issues with respect to a wetland. But I do appreciate you asking that question. I just want to know a couple things for this. This is a site plan review. It's in your ballpark, the commission that is, as to, you know, when you guys make a decision on this, granted that it's done within 65 days. So we're at 35 right now. I say that because there is one comment out of the few that Doug mentioned that I think is important for us to hash out before you guys do render a decision. And if you refer to the copies that I handed out, forgive me for those that are on Zoom. I just got these today, as I mentioned, so I will read them aloud so you guys can benefit from what I'm talking about. Just get some context. It is comments 12 on Wright Pierce's response comment dated today, February 28th, and I quote, Wright Pierce 2/16/22, no test pits have been completed in the area of the proposed stormwater infiltration facility. A test pit should be completed to verify the design and ensure that the bottom of the infiltration facility is at least 3 feet above seasonally high groundwater or ledge. Mr. DeVessa's response on February 18th to that comment was, and I quote, test holes can be done at the time when the foundation is being dug, and the system can be adjusted if needed once the soil data has been collected, end quote. Wright Pierce's response to that we just got today was, and I quote, field investigations within each footprint of the proposed subsurface infiltration systems are required in accordance with the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual section 11-P3-2, 3. The deep hole test pit logs shall provide the soil classifications for each horizon, depth to bedrock if encountered, infiltration rate, depth to seasonal high groundwater, and any other features observed in the deep hole. Due to the proximity of the wetlands and brook, insufficient information is provided for review at this time. The design is based upon an assumption for infiltration rate, 3 inches per hour, and depth to seasonal high groundwater for each stormwater management system. The manual states the bottom of the infiltration facility should be located at least 3 feet above the seasonally high water table or bedrock, as documented by on-site soil testing. In order for the system to meet the required counts, no net increase of peak stormwater runoff, the infiltration system must be designed in accordance with the Connecticut stormwater regulations. As noted above, the required groundwater vertical separation and soil permeability rates are not provided. So, not to try to parse what Wright Pierce Engineering said, not to say that I am an engineer, but the bottom line is what they're asking for get the data first.
Okay.
Before you guys get an approval. And I think it's warranted because of how close these infiltration systems are to the wetlands. You would not want to encounter groundwater with where these infiltration systems are, because then that compromises their ability to work the way they're supposed to. With where we are at this time of year, we are pretty close to where high groundwater would be anyway. So if anything, it would be in the applicant's benefit to do this work now than to wait when groundwater may possibly be lower and not know if there's a problem. Furthermore, this is the dead of winter still. I can't imagine upon you guys granting a resolution of approval, if that is ultimately what your consensus would be, you're going to have someone putting a shovel in the ground tomorrow and starting to work. It's the conditions aren't necessarily conducive to that. So I would say that the applicant should exercise using this time to get the data and make sure everything's done the right way before you guys render a decision. I don't know what would have prevented those test pits from being dug before, or as part of your application materials. I don't want to speculate, but either way, if Wright Pierce is making this recommendation or in the review comments, I think it's wise for you to consider that and wait to make your decision before that gets done. One other thing I will say, and I don't want to nitpick on this because I understand part of the site is not within your Upland review area, but there shouldn't be any work that gets done before you guys grant an approval. And I understand the site was a former Christmas tree farm. I don't know, if it was just Christmas trees that were taken out, if there was any other activity that was done to clear within the URA, but there shouldn't be any work that gets done until you guys have that resolution of approval ready to go. And furthermore, until a zoning permit is issued. I say that because, partially because I'm being mindful of those trees that you guys saw with the orange dots on them. If the applicant wants to remove those, if you guys think it's okay for them to remove those, have them wait. They should wait to do any other work on this site until you guys make that decision, until they have a zoning permit in hand. Also on those trees, I would want you guys to clarify whether or not the stumps would be removed and what the reasoning would be for having those trees taken out.
Yeah.
Trees, regardless of whether they're alive or dead, they do provide habitat for creatures that would otherwise go into the bark looking for insects, or creatures that would possibly nest or use that as a domicile, for lack of a better word. Not to say that should change your decision or a comment of approval, but I would just say if it can be avoided, trees should be left alone. If this is a public, or if this is a health and or safety issue, i.e. if this tree falls down, it's gonna land on the house, that's a valid reason for wanting to cut those down. But if it's just merely an aesthetic one, I would say, just be mindful of, what you're granting and where you're granting it to occur and for what reason. That's all I have for you guys tonight on this.
Okay. So this application, we still have till next meeting, is that correct? Timeline?
Yeah, so
Okay.
your customary review period for this, for a site plan review, is 65 days.
Okay,
We have only used 35 of them.
so we still have it's
So you
28
still,
days.
so you still have plenty of time to
Okay.
render a decision on this without needing an extension.
All right, so I do think we have to listen to our engineer. That's why we have them.
Right.
You know, not to listen to them is why would we use them? Doug, can you, and I don't know the process of how it all works. Can you dig those test holes for the drainage? And
I can.
And
I can
provide
do that.
to Ray Pierce?
I can do that, but I have a couple of comments, what Dave said about septics and wetlands. I'm unaware of any health department, health codes setbacks for wetlands. A wet septic system and a water course is 50 feet. With a caveat that if the lot was created before 1982, it could be 25 feet from a water course, but there is no, that I'm unaware of any health code separations from an actual wetlands. Some towns do have, you know, a setback of their own, but state health code does not have one. I don't think Bethel has a setback from wetlands in a septic system. And secondly, excuse me?
That was my error on that recollection, Doug. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. And the other thing is, which I find very interesting, and I've really never gotten a straight answer on the what the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual talks about when they want 3 feet above groundwater. And then when a state health department requires us to only be 18 inches above groundwater for a septic system. So I find that very interesting because there's very few areas that I work in towns that I work in, that you're going to get 3 feet above seasonal high groundwater or bedrock without bringing fill in or pumping a system. So that is something that I'll have to work through, but we don't want to pump stormwater. So again, in most towns that I work in, we usually keep at least a 12-inch separation between a groundwater modeling and hard pan layer. So again, trying to get 3 feet above seasonal high groundwater, unless you're in sand and gravel someplace, it probably will work, but I'll see what I can do out there, but I'm not going to make a pump system out of these drainage systems. So I'll see what I can do.
All right, so conduct the test pits, and then we have to get an understanding on that guideline. I don't know, obviously we'll have to ask Ray Pierce
Right,
to
so,
get a
so
clarification on
one,
that 3 foot 18-inch type thing.
right, so once that data is collected, I would forward that to Rice Pierce. They
Yep.
would then confirm that it conforms to the section in the quality manual that they're referencing to.
Yep.
If it checks out, then we're good.
Yep.
If there needs to be a modification, then I'm assuming they would let us know, or
Okay.
they would let Mr. DeVesta know, and we would see that change.
Okay, all right. As far as the tree removal, just, you know, open discussion here. I know my feeling towards them. It's literally on the line of the wetlands. It's in the upland review. I'm not even sure if it's in the wetlands or not. It's right on the line though. I'm not sure how it's flagged. I would consider them, because they're not in the forest, they're at the beginning of it, near a house. They're not gonna hit the house, but there is possible people in the yard and stuff, and as it's right on the edge, I don't have a concern with removing those trees for a safety concern.
Okay,
I know if I was a homeowner, I'd be looking for safety of my children,
understood,
and you're talking 6 trees out of hundreds of trees.
understood.
And it seemed the homeowner themselves was very conscious of that. The commission may feel otherwise, you know, that's my take on it. Again, tree stump removal, that's something the commission can discuss, but
Right.
I don't know how everyone else feels about those trees or removal or relieving or anything like that.
They were confirmed as dead, correct?
Yes, and
Yeah.
Mr. DeVesta, they do have a letter stating that
Okay.
they are dead.
That would have been my primary concern.
And they've, just to be full disclosure, they did go over benefits of having dead trees as well on property. Okay. And does anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay, good, please.
I might have missed it because I was in transit. Is there a ruling as to the distance between the septic system and the wetlands?
We're just
Is that-
talking about that. No, we're just talking about that.
Was that literally walking in here when we did?
Yes,
You guys
yes.
were speaking about it like that. That's
I
really
had
shouldn't have been there.
misspoke. I
Okay.
had said an error that there was a distance that wetlands had to be from septic systems. That's for water courses, and I believe there are certain conditions where that applies. I don't want to have Doug reiterate that again.
Nope,
But I-
that's
but
fine.
I-
And
but
my
I-
apologies.
And you know what? To further that comment, it's the septic system is the health department's review.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where they are in their review.
They approved it,
process.
Dave.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I chime in? I'm gonna be a broken record about this.
Okay.
But you yourself said it, David said that the health department doesn't necessarily have wetlands in mind when they're granting their approvals, that's not their purview, right? That's our purview.
I think they actually have everything in mind.
Do they?
When they're, I would think, they're not just looking to make sure
But we shouldn't assume.
health-wise, they're also looking for it's in the correct location, so to speak, in regards to whatever those, be it wetlands or zoning, however that, I think they probably have that preview. I mean, we could find out from the health department, not on this application, but in general.
Do you guys mind if I just take a minute? I found something on a cga.ct.gov.
Okay.
This is a OLR research report on, the topic is wetlands and zoning. And it has to do with statutory stream setback requirements, is exactly what we're talking about. Dated March 25th, 1999. And I'll just skip ahead. This is more just for our edification. Thank you. In Connecticut, setbacks for water bodies may serve several ecological functions, such as 1, enhanced nutrient removal from runoff, 2, sediment and suspended solid removal, 3, wildlife habitat, 4, erosion and flood control, and scenic preservation. Connecticut has at least 3 programs that establish setbacks or buffers for the state's water bodies. 1 is the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Program, the Coastal Management Program, and the Stream Channel Encroachment Program. Inland wetlands and watercourse buffer areas. Most buffer areas around water bodies are set by municipal inland wetlands and watercourses agencies. That's us. The law authorizes inland wetlands and watercourse agencies to establish buffer areas around wetlands and watercourses under their jurisdiction.
They're talking about the upland review, the 100-foot upland
I
review.
think they are. The purpose is to allow towns to regulate activities that may fall outside a wetland area, but which may have an effect within the wetland area. For example, a new paved parking lot. Okay. For example, septic.
Okay.
And wetlands, vernal or intermittent wetlands. The Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency may enact and enforce regulations that are consistent with their wetland regulations for activities within the buffer area, which are likely to impact or affect the wetlands and watercourses. The law does not limit the size of a local buffer area. DEP recommends a 100-foot buffer area. Okay, we know that. But recognizes that there are reasons for larger areas. So
Can
all this
I,
to say that it's just potentially complicated when you're dealing with,
can I respond to that?
yeah,
If I
because
may?
soils and slope and
Right, so,
vegetation, nutrient uptake, water, evapotranspiration.
so it would be one thing if this septic system was
Thank you.
within the upland review area. And Doug, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the septic system's placement was to be outside of the regulated upland review area. To make sure that we had that at least 100-foot distance.
In this
So-
case, is
so-
it in fact, okay.
So.
You're
so-
just skimming it.
So the septic
Okay.
system is
So
not
technically it is.
part of, the leaching system itself is technically not part of your purview. Because it's not an activity that's taking place within the 100-foot.
So, not in regards to this application, but Dave, may I ask if you could follow up with the health department? If they have any type of consideration they have when looking at it in regards to, and they may or may not, it just seems to be a general question that we need answered.
Okay.
But isn't it true that if something could have an effect on the wetlands, that it's still within our
Right, so,
jurisdiction and
so
obligation to,
just as an arbitrary example, let's say you had something that had an impervious area. X. And the only place for that impervious area to relieve or to have the water just drain or discharge or whatever you said, however you want to say it, is Y, whose location is within the 100-foot upland review area. That is something, because you're putting water into the upland review area, that is something that would be under your purview. But because all of this activity for the leaching gallery is outside of it, it's not part of what you're reviewing as your regulated activities.
But water drains downhill.
So just to that effect, we've had other applications that the septic's been close or possibly in the upland review. And there was an education one to not necessarily, if you're seeing a slope going this way, it actually can go more perpendicular. And I'm not a scientist, but I remember them because I had that question one time, and it wasn't actually draining this way. It was actually maybe because of the way the property was actually draining more on a perpendicular than straight. So not necessarily, it's uphill, it's going to go down pretty much, but there is other contours that play in part to that as well.
Yeah,
It's below soil.
What's that?
It's what's below soil and below view, because you're leaching into the fields. They can,
Right.
If you have got granite on the left and porous soil on the right, it's gonna go right.
Either way, this is above
Yeah,
the
yeah.
upland review.
Right.
I am curious though, and to understand the question about where we're going, the 3 feet to 18 inches. I mean, obviously, I understand what the septic is 18 inches. So if you can't have 3 feet in that drainage, I'm thinking of other areas that might have that same issue when they have Caltech chambers underground.
Well,
That I'm wondering.
Caltex and septic leaching systems are two.
No. I'm talking
entirely
something a whole different subject now. When we're talking about his drainage now, is where we're saying hey, you can't. And so I understand this. We're saying there can't be groundwater 3 feet during the high water table season. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly? Where your drainage for the driveway is?
Right, I mean, they want, it's 3 feet above groundwater modeling
Right.
levels in hard pan. And modeling is the seasonal high water indicator.
Right.
Doesn't mean it happens every year, it can be historical, whatever, but that's the potential high groundwater level that we have to follow for state health code. And it sounds like, and that's what they want us to do too with the stormwater quality manual. But again, as I mentioned earlier, is that with the septic system, we can pump it up there. And that's, pumped at so many gallons, but the drainage system, you typically always want to go gravity. You don't want to be pumping groundwater or runoff water up into a detention system. So that's the issue I have. And that's kind of, I've really never gotten a straight answer as to what the rationale was behind having 3 feet of above groundwater when the state health department allows us 18. And you figure that the runoff is less contaminated than in a septic system. The septic system, you got a lot of pathogens and viruses in it and things like that. So I just don't understand the rationale behind this what the state is trying to accomplish there.
And I'm just saying, I like to get a clear definition on that because I think a lot of applications that would affect them, that 3 foot thing. Not to say they wouldn't pass or anything, but I would, I like to get a clear understanding that where that is. It's, I think, extremely important because I can think of one application right now that comes to mind that may not have the 3 feet.
So we have two engineers from Wright Pierce
Right.
Engineering. They do our consulting work for us. Barry Parfit and Joe Hausman are there.
Right.
If either of them were available to be here on
Exactly.
tonight, that they would
Right.
that they would be able to explain the rationale of their comments
Right.
to you. What I could ask them is if you guys would like them to be here at the next meeting, I don't see why they would.
No, if they could, or if they could just, let us know the rationale behind it, even in the statement or something, that's fine. That's because I could think of other applications where there's underground chambers being proposed where I don't think you have 3 feet. So, okay. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, so this is continued.
I see a hand up.
I'm sorry, here we go. You gotta wave, Danielle.
Actually, raise your hand instead of doing it on
You keep moving on the screen on me, so. Danielle.
Regarding the 6 trees that were proposed to be removed, I remember when we did the site walk that it was very clear that at least 3 of the mature trees were very damaged and in poor condition. But it seems to me, if my memory serves me, that there was at least 1, possibly more, trees that were very young and they looked healthy that were also tagged for removal. Are you saying that the arborist that you had come out certified that all 6 of the trees had this ash boring blight?
He didn't specify which trees are being down. He just state that they have ash tree blight and they're dead and falling down. I recommended that the dead ash tree to come down. That's all he says in his letter, but I'll get a copy of that to Dave so he can supply that to you. He did not specify which trees. He said all the trees, again, he says all trees on the left side on the edge of the wetlands have the ash tree blight. So I guess he's saying all those trees that were marked, I guess, are ashes and they need to come down.
I'm certainly not an expert on trees and could not tell you for sure that all of the ones that were marked were ash trees. And, you know, as I said, it was clear that some of them were sick and diseased, but the younger ones looked to me not to be damaged, at least in my unexpert opinion. So I'd love to get some clarification on whether it was all 6 or just the mature trees that were looking sad. And I also, like Dave, I think it was Dave had mentioned, would love to get clarification on whether or not the stumps were going to be removed and whether, you know, the disruption level to the wetlands area that would be caused by their removal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I work for a tree guy and taking a stump out would cause significant more petroleum products and gas to come out of the machines, like, and we'll want more time and energy in the wetlands that doesn't necessarily have to.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good point.
Thank you, Daniel. Any other questions, comments?
So do we have a consensus, barring any other questions or comments, that we would continue this at our next meeting on the 28th?
I'm in favor of doing so.
Okay, I need verbal yeses from everybody, including out on Zoom land.
Danielle's indicating yes. Okay.
So hopefully we'll get all this addressed.
Okay.
And because I don't like holding projects up like this.
Yep.
You know, I would, you know, if you guys come to a consensus that, assuming we're able to get these comments addressed at our next meeting, you guys want me to have a draft resolution of approval ready to go, more than happy to do that. And then we can discuss what those conditions might be. You know, if you guys have anything that you want to specify.
So I'm of the mindset that I'm comfortable approving at the next meeting as long as the concerns we brought up today are addressed.
Okay.
I'm leaning more towards approval.
Okay.
So I would be comfortable doing so. I don't know how Danielle, how are you feeling? Would you be comfortable?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would second that as well. I would like to see the letter on the trees for my own sake, but I don't think there's gonna be any more information shared in there that we don't already know.
Okay.
I'm definitely leaning that way too, just as long as the drainage.
Yep.
Yeah, the test holes are dug.
Yeah.
Everything goes
That's
back.
good.
kosher.
Laura, you good? So I would ask you to prepare such a letter.
Very good. I will do that.
Okay.
And I'll ask the health department to chime in too.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Nope.
Good.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is Whittlesea Drive, and that is the new the lower athletic field. Now, Dave, help me with this one. This is a declaratory ruling,
Yes.
correct? Would you
I
like to explain
I
everyone what that is?
Please.
I am going to
Excuse me.
hop on this a bit earlier than I otherwise would,
Yep.
just because in my I may have been overzealous to try to explain what the yeah, thank you, Doug. What the
Hi, Doug.
what the review for the turf
Come on, guys, though.
failed. So when I had explained what was being, or what the application materials entailed when we met last time, I didn't have, I didn't have the insight that none of the activities that are being proposed with this turf field actually take place within the 100-foot regulated upland review area. Everything is outside.
I thought so.
The reason why this is still coming before us is because there are wetlands on the property. So when P&Z ultimately reviews this, because there's that check that's been marked off, or that's been ticked off, for lack of better words, they need something from you guys in the form of the declaratory ruling that says, hey, there are wetlands on the property. This has nothing to do with them. This review is just with you guys. And that's why this got brought before you guys. So I don't want to take away any of Mr. DeVesta's thunder in terms of what he had to show you guys for the turf field tonight. I would expect it to be very brief. Assuming that you guys don't have any jarring questions for him following whatever he may have to present tonight, I do have a draft of a declaratory ruling ready to go. And you know, you guys can keep this moving. So Doug, I leave it to your capable hands.
Okay, hang on for a minute. I'm trying to get all my stuff up here. We got that one.
Danielle, what happened to your cat?
Two of them have come by for a visit. Are you entertained?
Okay, I saw him before.
They'll be back. I'm sure they're very friendly. I'll bring them to the next in-person meeting.
There you go. My son, as soon as he goes on the computer, the cat jumps on it, so.
Oh yeah, I just got home from work, so they're here to say hello.
Okay, for the record, Doug DeVesta, represent the applicant. What we have tonight is this. Can you see this okay or not? Let me.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Nothing on our screen at the moment.
Okay, there we go. Hit the wrong one. There. How's that? That better?
Yep.
Okay. So this is, so just get your orientation. To the south here is the high school parking lot. To the west is the track and football field. And to the north is the middle school. This is the asphalt driveway that comes down towards the middle school and then continues down towards the parking lot below the middle school there. This is the ball field that we're talking about right here, which I'm highlighting. You got the baseball field here, you got the softball field in this corner here, you got a practice soccer, football, lacrosse in here, and you got another play area in here. What you're seeing here are the spot elevations and the topography. So this was created by the surveyor and gridded out. And then what we're proposing, so this is the overall proposal of the fields. We're looking at putting to remove the grass field that's there and replace it with a synthetic turf field. And then looking at putting in a baseball diamond, which is right, then basically in the same corner, taking the softball field and moving it to the north and east corner, and then having a full soccer field with lacrosse on it, and then a practice football field here with a which we haven't really got much discussion about, but potential bleach areas, bleachers on the hill going up towards the football and track field. So that's what the overall layout is. The grading plan looks like this.
Like, I'm sorry, you confused me. So is that whole thing turf or just a soccer field at that? All
The
those
whole,
fields?
the whole thing, this whole outline, whole outline is gonna be turf.
Wow.
It's about four plus acres of turf. So they would remove the grass and then bring in gravel, put in drainage under the system, and then provide, then add the turf onto it.
All right, thanks for clarifying. I thought it was just soccer. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's the whole field. Okay, so then, okay, that's the overall. And then the drain, and then this is the erosion control with, you can see below it. Let me just blow this up a little bit for you can see it. So what you're looking at here is these dashed lines are the drainage. So there's the stone and there's a flat drain that goes in this chevron, then it gets picked up into a drainage system that will flow in the same direction, same watershed as previously, and it goes in the other direction. We're providing silt fence around the basically the existing field, and then showing any tracking pad construction coming off of the lower middle school fields. And then the dugouts in this general area in here, they will be moving that. There's an existing gravel driveway that serves the power lines that will be adjusted just to get the dugouts in that area there. Minor regrading along the pathway that's gonna be shifted over to make sure we get the full soccer field in there. And then the new dugouts will be placed within the partly in the embankment of the baseball diamond itself. That's really it. So again, we've got some comments. I'm gonna get my other drawings out here. What else we looked at volume of runoff for the site itself utilizing the stone areas underneath the turf for the drainage to handle the runoff, the volume of runoff on this. I went through a fairly detailed explanation. I'm not going to go through it tonight with you. I mean, it's all in my report, what we're proposing. And then we've had some comments from Wright Pierce. Dave, did you get any comments back from them or not on this one?
I'm sorry?
Did you get any comments back from our, or just, I thought has not just been submitted, hasn't been submitted yet to Wright Pierce yet, my comments, right?
Any of the comments that Wright Pierce would have had, I don't think they were for inland wetlands. I think he would have gotten them.
For planning and zoning.
Right.
Right. Yeah, because most of the comments that we got from Wright Pierce were more geared towards planning and zoning questions versus inland wetlands. The only really comment that would have been would provide some erosion control mats on the area in this general area in here because of the steepness of the slope in here. This corner is being raised up a little bit to give ourselves some additional, get the grades proper in this area here. So we're providing a erosion control mat along this area in here before it gets graded out, to put some erosion control mats down here to prevent any further erosion that would occur in this area. That was really it. They wanted to limit disturbance. I just showed limits of disturbance right along the edge of the fence line that's out there right now. And other than that, that was really it. And then David's comments we're pretty much planning and zoning related comments. They wanted a 6 foot high chain link fence, which we're providing. That's on my other drawing here, on my first drawing here. So it's 6 foot high fence along the backstop area for the baseball field. Approximate location of the bleachers are here. ADA require access. Again, we'll have to be working with the company who will supply the bleachers, and will come off the access will come off of the track on the upper level here. Because again, as you know, this area has a steep slope into it, and that's where the bleachers will sit in that area. Lighting, there will be light posts. We're providing some light posts out here. That is not part of this application. The donor is not providing lights. They are providing the field themselves. The town will probably provide the lights at some future date, but we are providing the conduit for the electrical portions of the lighting. The fencing, there will be a netting between the two fields, between the baseball field and the soccer field. Dave asked where those will be stored. There is a storage facility at the baseball at the football field that those nettings will be stored when they're not in use. That's basically it. Again, the majority, what you're really relating to would be erosion control. Again, silt fence along the cut area of the project itself, and stockpile area with silt fence around it. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I do have one, Commissioner Doug, and this is purely for the commission's edification. Just so they understand, which side of this proposed project site is closest to the water course that's on the property, and I'm assuming I know we're at least 100 feet away, but can you ballpark a number as to what that may be?
Okay, the wetlands or the water course that Dave's talking about would be to the east of the athletic field. It's down more where the power lines are, which are underground at this point through here. So down where my cursor is down in that area, I would say they're probably 125 feet horizontally, and elevation wise, I would say they're probably good 30 plus feet below us.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a dirt road that runs back there to the
Got it.
other.
It's where the track
field,
used to
the
be.
actual lower field.
And
This is more the midfield. not the
and
lower.
just to clarify, there is nothing from this this activity with the turf field that would otherwise be within that 100-foot opportunity area, correct?
That is correct. We are working all within an existing area, except for some minor regrading along this gravel pathway, which I believe will still be outside the upland review area.
Okay.
My question has nothing to do with the review. It's just a personal curiosity question. The turf itself, which lays on top of gravel, both are fairly porous to begin with. So I know that we have additional drainage out, and that compensates for any kind of like buildup of water because it's not natural soil per se, but it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's fairly porous to begin with. The material.
That's correct. Right. I mean, that's the whole point. It is, you don't want the water sitting on this synthetic field. You want the water to get off the field as quickly as possible, down into the stone layer below it. And that's where the water will be stored and then infiltrate into the to the subsurfaces, to the subsoils, and then be moved away. Again, the whole point of this, to have it, again, this being a natural grass field, after heavy rain, you might get ponding, you may get water, and they can't use the fields for a period of time, days or whatever, after a storm. But now with this field being a synthetic field, it will dry off quicker, and it'll be able to use it much sooner after a rain event.
I've ran through many, many puddles down there. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Doug, can I ask one?
Sure.
Nico?
Football field.
So I read through the
Good for them.
hydrology and your engineering documents that you put together, and how it sounds like there's going to be a net kind of decrease in runoff, a significant decrease in runoff. So it's going to hold the water, like we were just talking about, better, which is great. But I guess my question is more concerns the quality of the water on this artificial turf field and all of the different components that it's made of. So from like the plastic grass to the crushed rubber, you know, old tires, crushed rubber aggregate. And my concern is what kind of chemicals are going to get picked up at, you know, through over time too, like through solar degradation and abrasion. Pretty concerned about chemicals and metals getting picked up in that water and where that's going to ultimately go. I'm very, very concerned about it, but that's my question.
You got to remember that the football field is also synthetic. So you also have synthetic grass up on the existing football field. Again, we're providing with, you know, the turf is synthetic, and they do fill it with rubber and sand. And then there's a stone layer below that. So again, you think about the stone can act as your treatment area of any biological processing can be put, you know, can absorb to the stone and create any biological issues. In terms of, you know, other chemical issues like that, I'm sorry, but I'm not an expert on it, so I really can't answer those questions. But again, they do looking at infiltration into the soils itself, and typically, you know, soils are very good for treatment of various chemicals and processes and stuff like that. So I think we're going to have, you know, being so far from any wetlands and stuff like that. Again, I'm not an expert at the turf fields in terms of how the chemical makeups of them and things like that. So I really can't answer that, but I, you know, and just think logically that we should have, I don't see any issues because they're done all over the place. So again, if I have to try to find some answers on that, I'd have to do some more research then.
Do you think, yeah, if possible, it would be nice to have a report on the chemical makeups and the outflows from these artificial turf fields? I think that's important.
So, well, who would we ask that? I guess, apologies for the interruption now, because that would be outside of our review and outside of, because it's well outside of our purview.
Well,
That's a very valid question that I would be concerned about too. Who would we raise that concern to or ask that of? If we're concerned about toxicology of the water that's going to flow through all the artificial and plastic-based turf that they're using into the ground and eventually flow through the soil and become groundwater, because it's going to go through groundwater clearance, you know. But the toxic sediment's going to fall into the soil at some point, because it's going to have to run through it, eventually reside in the soil somewhere. Chemicals are going to go somewhere.
Right.
Who would we raise? Whose concern would that be? Because it's not ours. Obviously, it's not something that would change our decision here. But if we wanted to ask that question or raise that concern, where would that go to?
I'm not sure. That is a good question. That's a bit outside of my wheelhouse, because my focus first and foremost is what's going on in that Upland Review area.
Mhm.
If the stormwater from this was creating a point discharge within the upland 100-foot Upland Review area, that is to say, if there was water that was daylighting out of a pipe into a detention basin or something to that effect within that 100-foot Upland Review area, I would say yes. You know, it's those questions definitely are valid, because that's a regulated activity. You are directly putting stormwater into an Upland Review area, but because the intent, if I'm understanding Mr. Director correctly, that the water is going to just percolate into the soil as though it was grass. You know,
Yes.
it's you have the medium of the rock material, the sand material, and any other material that is before you even get to that 100-foot Upland Review area as part of your treatment method. You know, I don't want to say that I'm an expert on what the turf field may contain, what materials they may use, but the point is, if there was a concern for that, If this was in the 100-foot upland review area, I can't imagine there wouldn't be an element to address that. You know, because this is a town project.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to want to do what is in the town's best interest, because this is on town property. So if there was an element that was needed to that effect, they would provide it. But that being said, this is outside of a 100-foot upland review area. This is going to go, the water from this is going to be treated as groundwater. So it's not like there's a point discharge, there's no storm water that's going into the upland review area directly. So I would say you don't have the concern that you otherwise would if that was present. That being said, as an aside, when we meet again in March, I could definitely follow up on that for you.
Yeah, I'll Google it too, just if there's
Yeah.
somebody to ask kind of thing, it'd just be something
Yeah.
that I would be, it's something good to learn about.
Right.
It'd be better to know than not know,
Right,
because what if it does become some sort of
right.
question at some point?
This site is right uphill from a vast East Swampworth wetland system.
Understood. But then if you were to treat any site that had groundwater that went towards a wetland, regardless of how far away the activity was,
You'd be looking at everything.
well, what would you be saying your distance for your purview would say, or would be? You have to go by what you have defined your upland review area as the area for your purview.
It'll be more work. I think that's kind of a subjective, I'll find a reading on that,
And
more than a legal definition.
I mean, you can cite our inland wetlands regulations, and I can have council give an opinion on you for this if you so desire, and I don't understand. Just for context, there was an article, I believe, that Nico shared with the commission that I think he may be citing some of these questions from.
Definitely.
And I don't want to, dismiss those and say that those never would be a concern, because if there was something like this within our 100-foot upland review area, then definitely. But in this case, it's not. And I would struggle to see how this not being or disturbing anything within a 100-foot upland review area would hold you guys up from otherwise saying that this is a declaratory.
Oh, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. This is more for personal.
Okay.
It sounds
This
more
is
like.
more, this is nothing to do with this. This is personal game,
Okay.
because it's definitely something of, that could come into concern at some point too, because if we do get it into upland review ever, I'd want to know I'd just be curious what's going on.
I think it's
and
more
how
a
it operates.
juristic point of view. I mean, I think we have jurisdiction up to the 100-foot. The question is, if there was a concern, like let's say the public was here with a concern, we couldn't address it because it's not in the 100-foot, but who would be able to address those concerns? I
Exactly.
think that's just a general question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yep.
all that it is.
Yep.
But by no means does it impact
Would
my.
it be the Department of Health?
I do not know. That's
And
something
possibly
Dave
plan-
could look into.
That could be something I could look into for you.
Yeah.
Dave, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, that it's outside of our purview. I too share some concerns about degradation over time and how that impacts our general health as a town and our waterways. I understand it's not in our purview. If the Inland Wetlands Commission has no jurisdiction over something because it's outside of our area of concern, but we do have other concerns from an environmental standpoint, is it appropriate for us to forward those concerns to planning and zoning?
How would I say this?
Probably not
Always
planning
go
and
to the
zoning,
planning
but
and
probably
zoning
to the
meeting.
jurisdiction, whoever has that authority.
Yeah, I could say you could weigh your comments as a resident, not necessarily from the inland wetlands.
Right, in the public hearing?
Right, well, because this would be going as a public hearing, you guys would
Right.
have already made your decision on
Right.
this, assuming that we go forth with the declaratory ruling tonight, but if you do want to present those, you know, I'd be happy to discuss with you tomorrow or before the planning and zoning commission as to how you can best do that.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Okay.
Anything else? So I do have a draft declaratory ruling for you guys to review. You guys can just peruse this quickly. I'll give one to you
Maybe I
too.
won't
Mary.
Those are close things once in a while.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is this you?
No, no, don't apologize.
Nope, that's all you. You guys take a
Thank you,
minute,
Dave.
look at this. Doug, I'll forward this to you as well once I get this out of the draft version for P and Z, okay?
Okay, yep.
I know that's not outside this, but the question is, where do you bring that?
Well, I mean, a sidewalk of this site would quickly show that any outflow from this field will go directly downhill across that river, across that road.
It's a
that
road. Yeah,
To-
you've been there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm
to the
there.
wetland system downhill.
I understand your concern, but I'm looking at it on a community view, again, the jurisdiction, that's the word I'm looking for. Let's say, this is not a Bethel, but let's say this was a builder here, okay? And it wasn't turf field, let's say it's something else. They're outside the 100-foot wetland review area. And we did a site walk and we found a concern and we held it up. We don't have the, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have the authority to do so. That applicant would be like, you can't stop me because you don't have the jurisdiction to do so.
Do
The
we-
question is, who would have the jurisdiction to hear any concern as such? That, I'm just looking at it from a
Absolutely.
legal.
Do we
like,
really not though? Like, is that a really hard and fast? Is that
The 100 we're-
review area a hard and fast legal
I'm
stop for us?
I'm not a
Yeah.
lawyer. I just know it's always been 100 feet, we review it. After 100 feet, we don't have the jurisdiction, I'm gonna say. I don't know if that, again, I'm not a lawyer and no legal advice here, but my understanding is we could review anything within a 100-foot upland review area. After that 100 feet, let's just say all of a sudden, someone came an applicant, within 100 feet, we see nothing but, you know, there's something off site that's so atrocious, we can't do anything. We could, you know, I would say we would have to bring it to an attention, like Danielle was asking, of someone say, hey, we saw this, we have no jurisdiction over it, but you may want to look at this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I thought for some
understand your
reason, I
concern.
thought that there was something in the Connecticut General Statutes. I'm gonna go back and read it again.
You may
It
know
said, like,
better.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I want us to check into it just because.
Yep.
And obviously, like, none of us wants more work. Sorry.
No, it's not the work, but again, it's
But-
like I believe Dave said, where is that line?
Where do you stop?
Where do you stop?
Well,
You know,
but I thought that there was something in the Connecticut General Statutes in our mandate that said that, yes, it's a 100-foot upland review area. Like, but if there is, you know, some condition that created that water or runoff to go into that 100 upland review area,
And that's,
that it would be in our purview.
that's why I
And
explained,
you, I guess you understand.
that's why I was explaining the whole impervious situation. So if you had something like a parking lot where you were creating impervious, where you had an impervious state or something that was creating stormwater.
It's
You gotta have a line.
And it's outside the 100-foot area, but water, because impervious, had to go within the 100-foot upland review area. They had to discharge there, then you could argue
Above
that
ground.
that area that is outside, because it's discharging to within the 100-foot upland review area, also is part of your purview.
Yeah.
But because what you're working with here, it's just going right to groundwater, because there is nothing inside the upland review area at all.
Is it? Do we know that? I'm sorry. Do the site plans have an outflow from the retention?
There is none.
systems?
There is
There's no outflow from the retention.
There's
systems?
no-
You would have to, I did not see it, you
So-
would have to
so-
ask them.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That
no,
is a
the-
question I have for Doug.
The channels hold the water, but what it does, it allows, because the turf allows it to drain in, and then it has almost like little buckets of pulling. So what it does is it dries the top of the turf very quickly and allows it to flow through the gravel and
Yeah.
sand under it faster. So that way you can do athletic stuff on the field without major water.
Super
caught the
porous.
holdup. Yeah, that's why they prefer.
Isn't there a
Sometimes.
capacity to those and isn't there an outflow or
That would be, Doug, I'm not sure if you can hear the discussion going on. The question was, is there an outflow on the property for this? And is there a capacity
I read through all this stuff.
question?
Let me pull up that drawing. I lost it already, so let me go back. 1, 2, I think it's 2.
I saw the drainage lines. I didn't see a.
Yeah.
Yeah, I deleted it. I closed out on it before, so.
Yep.
So this is the proposed drainage. So again, we're looking at there isn't a collection pipe on this, and there was always been a collection pipe on the field itself. So there is a pipe that collects the water. This is the collection pipe here.
Okay.
And continues out and drains down, and then that continues on down through the lower field there. And then this side here, this the high point is in this general area, and that flows in this direction to a catch basin, and then down and on out. But again, you remember we're providing stone storage in here under these are your drains in here. So there's a flat drain, like a flat panel drain, like an inch or so tall, probably like 10 to 12 inches wide. And then there's stone there, and they're placed on top of stone. So the stone is actually what's doing your storage volume in there. And as the storming intensifies, if it meets a certain elevation, then it will come out and go into the collection pipe, and then on out of the property itself. I'm sorry, but I don't, I'm not that versed with the chemical makeups of the synthetic fields. We would need to contact, and maybe that's probably for the Planning and Zoning Commission, hearing concerns like that. We'll have to have the turf company representative at that meeting, so they can talk more about the makeup of the products, the chemical makeup of the synthetic fields, the turf, and the makeup of the filler materials besides the sand in there. So I think that's the area that we'll have to have that discussion during the planning and zoning hearing.
So you're basically playing on a huge detention basin almost.
That's basically it, correct. And we demonstrated that through our volumes, that we do have the extra capacity in this to handle the runoff under the field itself.
Yep. Thank you.
In the stone.
Okay. All right, so has everyone had time to read the draft? Any discussions on the wording? Any concern? Okay.
Give me 1 second. I read fast.
Okay, sorry.
No, sorry.
For our veteran members who have looked at declaratory rulings before, this is pretty boilerplate.
Right.
Yep.
I just refer the sheets in the site plan that we were given and the date for which they were produced.
First one I've ever read. That's straightforward. Yeah. In all essence, this should technically have less water flow impact on the wetlands, if anything.
I
because
believe
it
that's what he
spreads.
said.
Yeah,
Less water
'cause-
flow coming off the property.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because it distributes throughout the entirety of the field itself with the catch basins, and just goes down, so.
So I make a motion, and keep me honest, Dave, how we do this, make a motion that we accept the declaratory ruling, is that correct?
I would say you're making a motion to decide on this application via the declaratory ruling process.
I make a motion as such.
Okay?
Second.
What does that mean? So are we?
You're approving the declaration, this.
Yeah, let's get.
So this
Oh,
this is a document that gets forwarded to P and Z. And it's saying that you guys ruled that there were no activities within the 100-foot regulated upland review area A. And B, that because of that, there's no direct adverse impacts to wetlands and or watercourses proposed. And, you know, this isn't a resolution of approval. It's not anything like a decision per se, it's just a ruling.
Because it's not up to us to approve.
Correct.
That's basically what you're saying on this. Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you tell me the motion again, please?
It's a
I put ditto.
it's a motion that the application, the materials that were presented can be decided on by this commission using what's called a declaratory ruling. I believe there's a motion on the floor.
Which was seconded by
Yep.
Laura, I believe. Yep.
Okay,
All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, signal by saying nay.
Think no.
Okay, that's fine.
I
All
don't know what I'm
those,
saying no to. I just know that I'm sketched about the project.
so you can.
That's what you do. You vote how you feel.
right,
I'm
that's,
sketched.
no, that's fine, that's
So
absolutely
there's
fine.
yes, no, and abstain.
Abstain, yep. So we got, all
Okay.
those in favor, aye, abstaining, a nay, all those, excuse me, against, one, and then, any abstaining? Okay,
Okay,
so motion carries.
yes, yes, it does.
Calculated correctly. All right. We do not have any old business, new business, first application. Now these we have to accept, correct?
What's that?
The new business, basically we're just accepting the application.
Correct.
So we're looking to accept Walnut Hill number 115. Installation of a single family dwelling subsurface sewer system associated with site improvements with a 100-foot regulated upland review area.
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep these short, sweet, to the point, because the stream has gone on pretty long already. Thank you, Doug. I'm going to try to put these up on the screen real quick. If I'm able to find the button that lets me do that. Oh boy. Bear with me 1 second, folks. I should have had that.
You want me to put them up, Dave, or what?
No, I got him, Doug. Just bear with me. What is this?
Like this one's yours too?
115.
Yes, it is. The next two are mine.
For 2 years and then you take the whole meeting. Nice to see you.
Okay. So where's the share screen button? Oh, there we go. Share screen. Okay, everybody can see what's up on the screen, yes?
Yep.
Okay, very good. I'm gonna zoom in here real quick. Okay, so this is 115 Walnut Hill Road. This is coming before the Inland Wetlands Commission because there is a wetlands area, which I'm bringing my cursor out over here in this area. Your regulated upland review area extends this far, and the regulated activities that are going on, or the proposed regulated activities, would be the installation of a subsurface sewer system components, i.e. The leaching area here, and any other associated improvements. The house that would be serviced by the system is well outside your upland review area, as is the driveway that gets you out to Walnut Hill Road. For what I understand, part of this property was formerly a Christmas tree farm, although the trees, you know, them being transplanted, I would say that's a component, but compared to everything else that's going on, it's pretty minor. Your numbers for Mary, the regulated upland review area that's being proposed to be disturbed is 0.0856 acres. I'm not sure what the total acreage is of this property off the top of my head, but really
1.5 acres.
Oh, thank you.
1.9 right there.
I would say that the activities, the regulated activities that would be proposed for this development are pretty minimal. I would be comfortable with you guys processing this via our site plan review. If you guys want to do a site walk, it's in your power to make that decision. I don't think it's necessary for this. We have all the other materials that we need to review this. There will be nothing at this time to hold you guys from accepting this tonight. If you guys do accept this tonight, you guys can begin your site plan review as soon as next meeting on the 28th. And we would have the 65 days, as I mentioned, like for Codfish Hill Road, to ultimately render a decision on this. Any questions?
No.
This is pretty straightforward, guys.
Yeah. I personally don't think I need a site walk. I don't know how the rest of the members do.
Okay.
Definitely.
So
What are the natures of the upgrades again?
I'm sorry?
What were the nature of the upgrades again? I don't need a sidewalk.
Okay, so it's a single family dwelling that's being proposed, which is here on the cursor on the screen. And then what's going on in the Upland review area is there is subsurface sewage system components, which is, I think this is your reserve area. And then you have your leaching gallery here.
Yep.
And then the grading that's associated with that. So in the grand scheme of things, not a lot.
Got it.
I'm all for the site plan review process. Can I recommend that we take a walk? Only because I like being outside and they don't take that long, but also because this property is right across the same pond from 6 Pondview Drive, which is the next property we're about to review. And it would be easy, I think, to do both, unless we just want to do one, and look at the other one.
Nico, can you promise that it will be like at least 12 degrees outside if you're gonna propose?
And because who knows what's going on with the weather.
I do think we have
but
to.
I don't want
I
to
mean,
push this, like, you guys really don't want to.
I'm a huge fan of like going to every property, but I think we got to also be careful and considerate of people's time as well on it. I mean, if you want to do a sidewalk, I'm okay doing a sidewalk. I don't feel the need that, I'm comfortable not, but if you're more comfortable having a sidewalk,
I don't want to make anybody go who doesn't want to go.
Here's
I want to go.
Here's what I would say.
Can't, like, yeah, I'll go in Flora, like.
Here's what I would say as a counter to that. Because this property is being brought before you guys in the form of an Inland Wetlands Commission application, they are granting you by default, correct me if I'm wrong out there in Zoom space, access to the property. So if for some reason it's determined that the consensus is that we don't do a site walk, you can still go out to the property and take a look at it for yourself. So
That's would we need to give forewarning? We should give forewarning.
Yes.
Because that's.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would still. I would still recommend. I would still recommend that you let the applicant know you want to go out there. But they would have to facilitate you going out.
Yeah.
So.
Of course.
Walk out.
This is Chris Steiner. We would be more than happy to facilitate people walking through, but we would recommend that that you guys let us know before.
Oh, we definitely would.
Yeah,
before going in.
I would have them let you know, Chris, no worries. If necessary, we would exchange contact information for them to facilitate. The only thing is, the caveat to that, if you guys do want to go out to the property, you cannot have more than 2 people go at a time, because if you get 3 or more, it's considered a quorum. And then it would be a special meeting, and I don't want to have to worry about having to schedule an impromptu special meeting because 3 people decide to go out there the same Saturday or what have you. So just coordinate amongst yourselves if we do end up going that route with the applicant and amongst yourselves as to when you're going, just to make sure we don't run into that issue.
Okay.
That being said, we would need a motion to accept this application and then you guys can figure out if we need to do a sidewalk.
All right, so I make a motion that we accept the application as submitted.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Okay,
those against?
and
Abstain?
then, I'm sorry, and then are we doing this as a site plan review or public hearing? I think site plan review.
Site plan review.
Okay.
Site plan review.
We need a
is-
motion for that.
Make a motion that we do this as a site plan review.
Second.
All those against? Abstain?
All those in favor?
Okay. All those in favor. Sorry, I thought we did that.
Way to assume, all right?
I thought we did that, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, so motion carries.
Okay.
That's good.
And
Now
you
just to
guys-
clear up this, we are not doing a
I'm
group
always up
site
for
walk.
doing that too.
We'll leave it up to individual if there isn't,
If,
They
if
feel the
that's,
need.
if that's the
unless,
consensus.
is there any, Nico, I know you feel in favor of site walk. Is there anyone else in favor of the site walk on the commission?
I'm gonna claim myself as indifferent, but if Nico goes, I'm happy to go if I'm free.
Okay,
I just
But
like
we can
see-
do
I
that
just like seeing
secondary
the
to
places.
no, I can
And
understand that.
like the topography. and
That's
stuff like
fine.
that.
Yeah.
So at this point, there will not be a public site walk scheduled. It will be done individual, just again, no, if you have 3 or more, it would actually be a meeting and has to be so posted. Okay. That it for that one?
That's it for that one.
Okay. Next one is Pineview Drive, number 6, construction of a single family dwelling and associated site improvements within a 100-foot upland review area.
Okay. So Nico kind of beat me to the punch with this one and saying that this property is right across the street. Good on you for having done your homework. Thank
I
you.
figure where Pineview is. but okay.
So let me pull up that property.
It's the same owners, I think.
Uh,
Or,
Yes, it is
maybe
the
not.
same.
or
Well,
no, maybe not.
Doug, is this you as well?
Same developer.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Popular man.
He's taken over the world.
okay, so I'm going to pull this up on my screen.
Nico, where's Pineview? You see?
Off Walnut.
Well, that one is like that. You said it was a
It is, it's off,
Well,
it's off.
Let
the church,
me,
it's across the church.
here,
Thank you.
Off of,
let me,
Well, I'm on the way other side, so.
oh,
okay.
yeah, no, it's
Right.
over by Hollywood.
and
Thank you.
let
And there's actually
me just go
definitely
right
truck
to
property
the
real close
source.
by as well.
There's one right in the corner there.
Yeah, and yeah. That's now.
Oh, wait, but this one's not gonna come up because it doesn't have an address yet.
I've only lived there my whole life, like I know.
Wait a minute.
After weed. It's right after, yeah.
Someone asked me
That's
last
the
year where
cul-de-sac
Juniper is. I'm like, it sounds
It is.
familiar.
Hang on.
I'm literally,
look at
it's
the-
across the street.
look at the-
It's just across the street from
All
my
will be revealed
house.
on the screen.
I know where they all go.
Yeah, I can tell you how to get
It's all
somewhere.
part of the
just-
same tables and
All right,
books.
hang on.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Ridgedale Road. This is where it meets up with Walnut Hill. Pondview is almost right across the street.
Oh,
Hey,
that,
look, that's my uncle's house right there.
And this is, and the
Thinking that I got
property in
pulled over.
red is number 6. As Nico mentioned, and as anyone who would look at the site plans would tell you, 115 is right here.
okay.
So it's not quite abutting, right, not quite right next to it. You have this parcel that's owned by Aquarian that's in between, but the general gist is it's
Who-
around the same.
Did you say who owned that property? Because I know that they have some sort of
This right here?
town.
Steiner.
Aquarium.
This is
Oh.
Aquarian.
It's a well, actually.
So this
Yeah.
is, this
Yeah.
is the
Yeah, 'cause I
Steiners.
see everything when I, because we walked through there to get to the pond go fishing. I was curious on that.
It's a
and-
well, which has something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to get too far off track. So this is also the Steiners. What I'm showing you in red isn't the entire extent of the property from what I understand. That's not really a ball of wax to get into right now. What's more important is what's going on with respect to the wetlands area, which you guys will see is the line, I think it's this one right here, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have that.
No, it's
right.
not, Dave. It's further up.
Oh, okay, it's this one right here.
Right.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. So this is your regulated wetlands area here, your 100-foot upland review area. Pretty much takes the better part of this parcel. As part of the regulated activities being proposed, you have a single family dwelling. You have parts of a driveway and an access way. or another service driveway for the house coming off of Pineview Road. You have septic system and sort of subsurface sewage system, excuse me, and associated components. And then, if I'm not mistaken, this is a retention system over here for where my cursor is running over. None of these activities are within regulated wetlands themselves, but they do get very close in some areas, especially over here where my cursor is, and especially here on the back of the house where this deck is, where this regulated wetlands here is. Numbers for Mary for regulated upland review area that's being proposed to be impacted is 0.388 acres. That's per the deep reporting form. Just for the commission's FYI, I don't see how, or rather, let me rephrase that. I think it would be appropriate for you guys to process this via your site plan review process as well. I would recommend you guys go out for a site walk for this one, just because of how close things are to the wetlands themselves. From what I understand, the applicant is amenable to staking out a couple of corners of the detention system here and the back of the single family dwelling in the deck, so you guys have an idea for how close that is getting to be. The wetlands, if I'm not mistaken, I think there are still flaggings for those, so you'll be able to see those as well when we go out there. That being said, there are no direct adverse impacts to wetlands proposed. I don't want to get too much into the weeds for this, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I can do, I guess I'm jumping the gun here. I know the area pretty well. It's been a good time there, but I don't, like, I played with my younger cousins in that area, in the cul-de-sac, but I never really paid attention to it from a wetlands perspective. I would like to go, is whoever's responsible to contact to ask, I would like to go this Saturday or Sunday after probably about 3 p.m. I'm gonna be there anyways, probably both days.
That's something we're gonna have to, that's what the next discussion is, when to
Yeah.
go. First, if we do it, and when to go.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't, it's also like,
all right. So first we have to, do we accept it first?
Make a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the application as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Abstaining? Okay. Now I have to,
Which are we doing, site plan review or public hearing? I think a
Okay.
site plan review is appropriate.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyone feel the public hearings needed?
No.
Okay. Make a motion to accept it as a site plan review. Is that correct? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
We need a second. Right?
I
Oh,
second.
sorry. There you
Thanks,
go.
Matt. Keeping us honest.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Abstain? Okay. General consensus is to do a site walk, the way I understand it. So we have to now figure out.
I would
Time,
recommend you
what do you
guys
think?
do one.
oh no, you guys decide your time, and for some odd reason. I
No,
can't
well,
make your
we
time.
can
I
start
have
with what
access.
works for you.
Yeah.
So
No, nobody wants to do 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon.
I have no life, so I'm good.
Okay. I had dinner with my uncle and grandparents, so.
Oh,
Right
all
next
right,
door.
so
I'm
what's the
there.
general
I'm
consensus
I'm going to
on
dinner.
what works for,
Come over for dinner if you want.
does a Sunday at 3 o'clock work for
Yeah.
anyone? Go ahead, Dave.
I would say Sundays for me, depending on which ones they are, I may not be available.
Okay,
I do have an activity that takes me out of town for the better part of some afternoons. More than happy to try to accommodate if Sunday works best for you guys. I can make that work. I just have to know.
I would say you guys plan on you, and if I can't make the time, I can.
Well,
and make arrangements.
I think any day, unless it's a weekday when it's, that late, is kind of hard to make, because you may think it's okay now, and then to get closer, your plans may change. In other words, my wife may tell me no as we get closer, so.
So let me phrase it this way. We can do a doodle poll again, where I have.
Let's do that. That worked out well
Yeah,
last.
that was
have-
good.
Where I have you guys pick from the Saturdays and Sundays between now and our next meeting.
Okay.
You guys let me know which of those works best for you. I think I have an idea as to which some days don't work for some people. Try to
Yeah.
accommodate
I
as
work
best we can.
every other Saturday and then not this Saturday I work and then the next week Saturday I'm volunteering at the nineties convention. So and then the next Saturday I work again. So,
when did the nineties get old?
I know.
I would like to point out though, we are getting into March, so it is staying lighter later.
Yes, we
So
will have the
after work
benefit
could
of
be an
daylight
option
savings
as well.
time, I believe this weekend it kicks in.
Really?
Whoa, I celebrate that.
So again, so we do get into that as being an option. So I don't know if anyone's in favor of doing after work site walk or reserve the weekend for it. I just wanted to put it out there.
After work is probably difficult for me since I usually work until around 6:30 PM. But
All right.
the commission doesn't need to work around my schedule. Those are just my constraints.
Nope, weekends are fine by me as well. So
I'm gonna do a Zoom site walk.
there you go.
Dave's gonna pilot the drone.
Technically, you could do that.
Okay. So you're going to do the Google.
I'll do the doodle poll.
Okay.
For those out there in Zoom land, I'll have an email that goes out for everybody. And for the applicants, as soon as I get a consensus date, I'll let you know what that is and we'll bounce back just to make sure that works for you. Any questions?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
This isn't septic, right? Or is it?
Yes.
I believe,
There's
I
no-
It's
That's
crazy.
what I thought I saw, but
I
isn't
believe
there a
it's-
sewer?
I believe it's being proposed to be serviced by.
So this road does not have sewer.
City service? No.
Okay, I'm assuming if they're putting
It's
septic, there's
town
no sewer.
water. Well and septic.
Find out for you.
No, I'll do a drive-by. That's fine.
It's town water, but the septic they wanna put over there on the left.
Yep, okay. I just know years ago we did sewer there, so I was curious why they're doing septic. Okay,
I think they're currently proposing natural gas in that area too.
I'm worried about the septic so close to the wetlands again.
all right. We'll be able to ask that during that application. Okay, this one's all set then?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so now we're going, Whitney, thank you. 17 Whitney Road, construction of parking area, recreation area, retaining wall, and associated site improvements within 100-foot regulated upland review. Dave?
Yep, hang on here. Let me get that on screen. Oh boy, sorry, I caught in the clock there for a second.
Glasses, can't see. Sure.
Lot of paperwork.
The one eye wink.
Yes.
Doesn't always be $1.
Getting to that. Okay. My agenda say for this one. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, so 17 Whitney Road, just for you guys. Oh, hang on here. Okay, that's better. All right, so let's pull up 17 Whitney Road. I just want to make sure something real quick. Cool. Share screen. Okay. All right, 17 Whitney Road. Oh, nope, it's not coming up. Another address that has yet to be assigned. So let's just go to Elgin. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay. So this is the lot in question, which is being identified to us as 17 Whitney Road. There is a water course that is back here that traverses this portion of the property. Per the site plans that were submitted, if I can get to them. Okay, there we go. the regulated upland review area that is associated with that brook and the wetlands, which I think a portion of it extend on site, is this line here that my cursor is running over. So the activities that are before you guys or that are proposed to come before you guys would include the parking area, which is shown here. The recreation area, part of which would be in this area over here. There may be the there is a retaining wall that is shown here, and then just associated site improvements, i.e. grading and splash pad and the like. I would say because there are no direct adverse impacts proposed for wetlands, I'd be comfortable with you guys processing this for a site plan review. I leave the ball is in your court as to whether or not you think a site plan review or a site walk is appropriate. I leave that decision to you guys if you think it's of interest. The numbers for, bear with me here. If I can find the deeper.
Dave, is this commercial?
No, well, wait, are you saying is it proposed to be commercial, or is it proposed to, or is it right now commercial?
Is it proposed to be commercial? And if so, what type of commercial?
I believe it's being proposed to be residential.
That's correct.
That's residential.
Oh, is it? It could be a apartment building.
So this is, so right now, the building is, so the building right now that exists right now is not the same as what this is.
Okay.
I believe what's going to happen is there's going to be a separate application that is submitted to planning and zoning for this property to be subject to what's called the TOD, the Transit Oriented Development Overlay Zone, which I don't want to get into zoning too much because it's not relevant to us, but it permits structures like this. So that's why this use is being proposed. So this is all residential. There is no commercial component to this for what I understand, not that it really makes a difference on your guys' acceptance of this application or not. I've got my numbers here for you, Mary. The proposed upland review area to be altered is 0.33 acres. And that's this area that is in here to the right of this line. I think the extent of your limit of disturbance, no, I don't want to presume as to what that line is. I'll have the applicant define that when they make their presentation. But either way, I'm comfortable with you guys going the site plan review process for this. We have everything that we need to accept.
All right, so the reason I'm asking if it's going commercial or what's going in there is for public hearing point of view.
Okay.
So what is the use of this building?
It's residential, solely residential.
Once it's not going residential, commercial, it's right, it will be residential once done.
Right.
That's correct. For the record, Mike Mizuko, just for clarification, it's solely a single building for residential only. There's 32 one-bedroom apartments.
The unit count doesn't make a difference for you guys.
No, I understand that.
What is it
A public.
currently, though?
I'm sorry?
What is it currently?
It's currently a Butler building or something to that effect for the storage of vehicles. I don't want to, I'm not too familiar with it myself, but it's not a residential use right now, to say the least.
All right, so
Yeah, it's a contractor's yard.
That's what I thought. All right.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It's
got it.
behind like.
Thank you.
Right.
Got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
By the
okay.
pizza place. Got it. Got it. I'm trying to figure out where the road is
Yeah.
and everything. Okay.
If I hear what your concern is. Wouldn't that be a planning and zoning thing? Don't they have the right to also?
Yes, they have the right also to do so. Yes. Yep. Okay, so make a motion that we accept this application
As submitted.
as submitted. All
I
those in
second.
favor? Oh, second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Everybody say aye. Against? And abstain. Okay? All right. Now the question comes up if it's a public hearing or not,
Or a site plan review, that's correct.
or a site plan review.
Mhm.
So,
I would not be, I would be comfortable with you guys reviewing this as a site plan review. There are no direct adverse impacts to wetlands proposed. I wouldn't say there are any activities that could be considered a significant activity or a core activity. I would say if you wanted to bring this to or process this as a public hearing, it would be solely out of the reasoning that it would be in the public's interest. And I would have you state for the record what that public interest might be.
okay. Any thoughts on if this should be a public hearing or not?
Where's the, I guess my question would be, the water flow that runs through it,
Right.
where does that,
Flow to?
yeah, where does that water
Nico
flow?
may know. I don't.
It's
So
a
this-
Simpog Brook. It
so
runs
this
from
is-
Reading and I think it flows north. Is that right? To the Stone River?
Nico knows every waterway.
I've learned that real quickly.
I'm working on it, man.
So this is your water course right here that my cursor is
Google
following.
Maps.
If I
Okay,
were just to do
Does it flow
a
north?
off the cuff look at what this water body is,
Oh,
I believe it is a continuation of this system that goes beneath South Street and Lomparloa Field, and then runs behind and then goes underground, and then daylights over here by the, oh, I don't know if this is a storage building or not, but this is a commercial building over here. And then it runs behind, it runs through a portion of this property before ultimately going to the Still River up in Danbury.
It's that wetlands behind like the Shelter Rock Sports Gym.
Is this another one of those affordable housing deals?
Yeah.
Can't, none of
I
your
mean,
purview.
it doesn't matter. to us.
Yes.
It matters to
Why
planning and
why
zoning.
doesn't that matter though? Because the number of people that determine and units could determine the use and like the traffic and this and the.
So
pollution.
I think, and Dave, keep me honest here, I think it doesn't matter the type of application, it does matter the density of it to us, but not the type of application that's causing the density.
Right. We're
In
just
other words, it
concerned
don't
about the
matter.
Wetlands. It
Let-
doesn't, we can't
Right.
be concerned
With,
at this meeting.
Right.
If it's one of the, 803?
yeah, right.
C.
So if you
Combinations.
if you feel this density, be it 30 units, would cause an adverse impact, you can consider it that way. You cannot consider it based on the type of application it is.
Right, so,
Right.
so all you're looking at is the regulated
Right.
activity.
Correct.
If you were talking about the size of the building, if you were talking about a stormwater management system,
Traffic. Has nothing to do with that.
no,
My
tra-
concern would
traffic is
be-
planning and zoning.
Right.
Traffic is not inland wetlands.
And I mean, I think what I'll say is, I'm a big fan of public hearings on a lot of situations. I like the idea of public hearing on this one. However, I don't feel public hearing is warranted by the wetland board because the amount of wetlands on there and from what I'm seeing, you would be feeling more zoning questions of wetland. I'm not saying, I'm not gonna say there's not an adverse impact without going through it, but I don't see it being such a concern from a wetland point of view that it would warrant having a public hearing for a wetland concern.
I would, and this is not an argument, but
No, please.
this is something that can be stated, the impact to wetlands by the proposed units to that water flow could have downstream effects or effects on water flow itself, or that entire. Because there's also downstream effect to our neighbors, potentially to it. That could be something that you could use, but I don't know that I've looked at the plans enough to even make
Right, and that's where.
make a decision to say that's proper,
Right.
but that would be the argument, the only argument I would foresee come into play, but
And that's where you
I
get the
can't make that
information,
argument
but
with the
it's hard
knowledge
to
I have.
balance that.
I would rephrase how Kevin is positioning what he's saying slightly. In that if the building that was being proposed had a certain number of units, or did not have a certain number of units where it was affecting your parking and how and to what extent that parking area had to go into the regulated upland review area. In other words, it's not the use of the property. It's not the it's not the traffic or anything to that effect that you're looking at. It's what's going on within those 100 feet.
Yes, and pushing into that 100 feet would have an effect on that waterway.
And the density and number of people and the size of the parking lot and the impervious surfaces certainly has a play.
And the reason I asked if it was commercial is because if it's a automotive shop or something like that, the oils, that's why.
That was my other question, is
Yeah,
the quality of the wastewater matters,
Yes.
right?
I was
So
also
residential
thinking
is
of
maybe
waste
different.
out.
I didn't
Right.
even think it
Yeah.
was.
What about the car wash? Yeah, I was thinking, yeah.
So
Again, I wasn't even thinking.
So those are stormwater management systems. That would be the guise of what you're asking.
Review, yes.
If you're looking at this from a stormwater management perspective, if you're looking at this from a total area of soils disturbed perspective, that is the lens
Right.
through which you can view this application,
Right.
not necessarily the use that prompts that. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, but my
Okay.
verbiage isn't right, but my thought process is
Yes.
exactly what you're speaking. of.
Yes.
It's not saying.
I understand. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
But then there's
100%.
my other questions, like then if I have questions about parking and increased stuff, which has nothing to do with this meeting, can I take that to planning and zoning?
Once the commission has rendered their decision.
Once we've rendered our decision, oh.
Right.
I
It in some cases, and I don't want to get into this too much because this is really immaterial. If you want to go into questions that are not part of your purview, you want to wait until your review process is done before you get into anything else.
Right.
Because your duty with an application that's before you is to just look at what you're reviewing in your role as a commissioner.
We've had commission members before
That's what I was.
wanted to voice opinions in like another forum, and they basically abstained from it.
They recused
They
themselves.
recused themselves for that part of the meeting and then rejoined, so they had no input into the decision that the wetland board would make because they're voicing their opinion in another forum. So,
But that's really immaterial
Yeah,
to what we're doing right
That's
now.
what I was wondering.
okay. So basically the question, I guess, is in front of us, do we do this as a public hearing or as
It's site plan.
a site plan review? I'm fine with any. So,
I'm fine with site plan review. I feel like the concerns would
okay,
probably go more in a different department, like
all right.
planning.
So anyone feel
I
differently?
would agree, Danielle, thank you.
Me too.
All right, so it sounds like most people are thinking site plan review, so we accept this as a site plan review.
Make a motion.
I thought I just did.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept this as a site plan review.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Abstain? Okay,
Do we want to do a sidewalk for this?
I thought we were almost done with this. Does anyone feel there's, would be a group site walk required on this one? Any thoughts? Okay, does not sound like there is.
Okay,
Okay.
and just to be clear, before we move on from new business, we are going to commence all three of these site plan reviews at our next meeting, March 28th.
So let's, it's not just these three, you also have codfish
Yes.
and walnut. So you think tonight's meeting's long?
Yes,
That one's gonna be
yes.
longer because now you're going into 3 others, so either you do a special meeting, have a long meeting next time, or push this out to the following meeting.
That's a decision that you guys would have
So-
to make.
What is this something you want to push out to the next one, hold a special meeting, or have a longer meeting next time?
Can I totally ask you guys who have been on the board for longer, whatever,
At this point,
seeing all of this procedure?
I would say push it out till,
Yeah,
when is it? April meeting?
yeah, whatever.
Yep.
So, with you guys
Are we
having,
allowed to do that?
so with you guys having accepted all 3 of these applications as site plan reviews, you only have 65 days to go from start to finish.
Okay.
That's reviewing the application and rendering your decision. Between now and March, you're losing 27 days.
Right.
So that would really only give you one more meeting to hear this and then also make that decision that same night. If you guys want to do that, if you guys think you're comfortable with what these applications are to do that, that's your discretion. If you guys want to hold a special meeting to do that, to kind of do this piecemeal, that's at your discretion too.
I think this one could get a little complicated.
Okay.
We can't ask
so-
for any extensions or anything?
You are allowed to ask for an extension. I think it works the same as for a public hearing. I think you can go up to 65 days. In fact, let me take a look at the regs.
David, that's for the record, Mike Mizuko, that's correct. You have an additional 65 days to apply throughout the process of the application. So
Assuming we have a consent from the applicant to do so.
correct, yeah, we would have to grant the extension, but there would be, assuming that, well, you're not going to have the public hearing, you would have 65 days to be able to extend in the regular decision-making of the application.
So
If
if we
need-
don't make a decision in April, we get to ask for a request for 65 days additional.
Up to.
Up to. I'm
Correct.
all right going to April.
Okay.
I know, that's me. I don't know about the rest of the board, how the rest of the board feels.
I don't
You
like
can-
pushing up to tomorrow what can be done today,
Okay,
only
that's
because, what if we accumulate on top? Because you don't know what's coming down the
Yep.
pipeline, you're assuming that you're gonna have a smooth month. And I
Okay.
don't like assuming that things are gonna be easier tomorrow than they are
Okay,
today.
So are you okay with a longer meeting? I mean, assuming the meeting's
Yes.
longer next month, that's fine, or you do a special
a
meeting.
short
in
meeting?
I'm okay with that.
Not lately. I haven't been able to do it yet.
Too short. I mean, I love you guys, I don't mind spending time, maybe we'll bring pizza.
Sorry, Greg. I missed those half an hour ones.
I know, it was so
I
nice.
know.
Wait,
Sorry,
what?
why don't we
Have,
rewind?
half-hour meetings when I first started.
Those are the days before you guys met me.
Well, those are the days where I sat here. That's a problem.
Most men should stand
All
by
right,
the
so
rule.
how do you want to do this? Longer meeting, or you want to have a special meeting?
I'm okay with either, but I'm also
one
one
night
person.
and deal with it.
All right, so
and
let's plan-
spend
okay, we're
another
gonna-
night of my life.
We're gonna hear this on
Second.
March 28th.
Okay,
Okay,
so that's all 3 of them.
yes, we'll
Okay,
hear all 3.
You got it. Very good.
Guys
So
like
no
that?
new business then. Okay, Dave?
Done that in the parking lot.
I will do my best. I can make no promises.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you. I thought you said yes, absolutely, no problem.
All right, so we're good with this one now?
Yes.
Maybe get done by 10. All right, commission business and a regular meeting, make a motion that we accept the minutes as
Estimated
submitted,
for which one?
1/24/22. So you need a second on that?
Yes.
Second.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain. Okay.
I will abstain because I wasn't at.
That's correct. Laura, were you at the last meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Anyone else out in Zoom land? You guys were all at the meeting, right? Okay, cool. So it was only Greg. Okay, cool.
All right.
So that'll be Greg, abstention everyone else. Okay, cool.
So make a motion that we accept the minute meetings from our special site walk from, and I apologize, my glasses for 2/19.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those against? and abstain.
And then that would be Greg
Who's
and Laura.
abstaining? Sorry.
Greg and Laura.
Couldn't go.
All right, so the next one is an invoice from Northwest Conservation. This has actually been pending for a little while.
It's finally an invoice.
It's
instead
an
of a
invoice,
donation,
yep.
Which makes more sense.
So knowing the history, we had the training on it, I think last month or the
Yes.
previous month. So
Yes.
to that effect, I make a motion that we pay the invoice for for the Northwest Conservation District of, I believe that says $2,600.
That's correct.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against and abstain. Okay. Then we have another invoice, Danbury News Times. Make a motion that we approve paying $377.
And
Second.
that's just for legal notice.
That's-
yeah.
We have to put out.
Yep. So we got the second. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Abstain. Okay.
And then there's one more on the last page.
Yeah, now I gotta find the last page. Here we go. This is, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my glasses here. Greg, can you see that? Or that one? My glasses broke, so.
So virtual wetland science conference
So this
for
is.
$5.
This is the Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists. They are doing something out of their wheelhouse, or that's not customary for them, which is having something over Zoom. To offset them getting that up and running, they're asking that those who wish to attend, which hopefully would be me,
Okay,
guys decide to pay the $5.
we'll have to start a collection, but okay.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So I'll second it.
Share that.
Um,
Who made the motion? Sorry,
Hold on.
I-
I'm sorry, Greg made the motion.
thank you.
Here's okay. I think we could make that work to have more people show up. So it would be $5 per person. I would want to make sure that we could get all of you guys to go. Who would have interest here in going to that conference?
I'd have interest, pending date, of course.
Okay, I wish I had the conference.
So can we amend the motion by approving $5 multiple by those looking to attend from the
Yeah,
committee?
yeah.
There we go.
We could do that.
Sounds interesting.
Let me take a look here. I'm pulling it up
Soil
on my.
nerds, yeah.
If I could spell science
myself.
correctly, conference 2022. Nope. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so that is.
I can sign and pay separately.
March 9th, 2022 CAUSE annual meeting. The Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists CAUSE will host a virtual wetland science conference on the morning of Wednesday, March 9th, 9 to noon. The event is just $5.
Good deal.
And modules would include conservation of amphibians and reptiles in Connecticut, living shorelines, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, regulatory updates, visit a vernal food program, Connecticut in new fee update, 2022 grant awards, CAUSE annual board meeting. Let me put this up for everybody out in Zoom land. And CEUs to be determined and certificates of completion will be provided. I don't know how many of you guys are available Wednesday, March 9th, 9 to noon.
I can't commit to that yet without looking at my work schedule.
I'm working.
I'm working as well.
That was
Excel sheets.
Yeah,
Wah, wah.
Well, what's that?
I love in the wetlands, but I love my paycheck.
So we just amended it to $5 per commission member. Author, we amended the motion that way.
So how many did we just two? So I was.
Well, possibly 3.
Oh,
Two,
That's why.
possibly 3.
okay. So do we want, so we can amend it to say up to $15.
Up to $15. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Did we just totally throw you off there in your notes?
Nope, I'm good.
Awesome. Thank you. All those, it was seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Against? Abstain? Beautiful.
Okay,
Just comments now?
just comments now. Home stretch, guys.
There we go. I have no
So-
comments.
Three quick things for me. The first of which is, we are coming up to some decisions for you guys to make for wetlands applications that are before us. I don't want you to feel like you have to act in the vacuum of these meetings to make and or base your reasonings for your decisions. I will forward the regulations to you guys, so you each have a copy. There's a section that goes into the decision-making process that I think would behoove you all to read. And just the regs in general, it's handy for you guys to have those. They're also online if you ever lose them. I'll forward that to you guys tomorrow. In that vein, I don't necessarily think it's appropriate to try to do this almost 10 o'clock at night. I have hard copies of site plans. Back before COVID, it was customary that you guys could get copies of these for whichever was in your interest. You guys want to stop in the land use office anytime, ask for any hard copies for these, without having to show you how strong I am to lift them. I have them here for you. Please do not hesitate to take a copy. They are printed for your convenience and for your consideration.
They're all online, correct?
The
Yeah,
applications,
Yeah,
yes.
all the
The
data.
site
sheets,
plan.
I'd
The
really like to
site
do.
plan sheet set are big.
Yeah.
I would say it is best to view those on the original sheet size than try to print it at home.
No, but you could view
Hard
it.
to read them
Yeah,
online.
yeah, you can view
I
them
prefer
online.
screen zooming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if-
that's
if-
what I'd like to do.
yeah, okay, if that works for you guys, I don't wanna upend the apple cart, but I'm just letting you know site plans are here. Last thing for me, and I don't want to harp on this too much because I'm not the police, or I'm not trying to police anyone, but I say this as a PSA for everybody. Please limit your comments or anything that you may post on social media for applications that are before you guys. Even if your comments in themselves have nothing to do with the decision that you guys would ultimately make, I would just highly advise you guys to just refrain from doing that entirely. It's in the opinion of the land use department and especially myself, social media, unfortunately, it's not necessarily an asset, it's a liability. All it takes is a council, a member of the public to see something that you write and take it in a way that's not intended and have that be misconstrued against us and used against us for whatever decision you guys decide to make. I don't want to discredit your guys' ability to participate as members of the public, certainly on applications before any other land use commission where you guys have already rendered your decision, or if you so are inclined to recuse yourself, have at it. But other than that, if it's something that is actively before us, do not comment, do not engage. If someone asks you a question directly, simply say, come to the meeting, come and listen on Zoom. All the documents are available in the land use office, they're on the Google Drive. I am all about transparency, but I am also very much in the position of not putting you guys in the line of fire. Okay. I just want to make sure that's clear right now. We have a lot of applications that are coming up. Decision wise for you guys, there are a lot of applications that are also before P&Z. You may notice some social mediums getting very heated about that discussion. I ask you to not engage in that. Okay. That's
Dave,
all
can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You said everything's available in the drive. I know it's available to us. Is that available to the public?
Yep.
Okay. So sharing that information and that link to the drive is an okay thing to do if asked.
Absolutely.
It's on the
you.
municipal or
Not a problem.
town site.
Any opinion further than that, I would say, don't do it.
Done.
Okay.
Anything else, Dave?
Nope. Thank you
Uh,
very much for being patient.
No problem. Any comments, questions, or anything from committee members? Awesome. Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn. Other people can make motions.
I'll second it.
No, we like that.
Like me screwing them up.
Yeah, exactly. Get to put you in the hot
it's
seat.
seconded. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. I got you, Danielle. I got you back. Thank you. Against, abstain, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.